He got to the point where the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. Bill Belichick and his level of trust that he has with his quarterback, it's clear that he has more with Mac Jones than he does with Cam Newton.
Check out Canty and Golick Jr. weekdays at 4 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN Plus.
WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, everybody, welcome in. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Coming at you live here on 1410 WING, live on Facebook. Search the Justin Kinner Show on Facebook. You can follow and, of course, watch the show weekdays live from 3 to 6 p.m. And then, of course, live on YouTube. Search ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel, and that's where you can also watch the show daily. However you take the show in, we appreciate that, so thank you. But, yeah, we have a jam-packed 3-hour show, and, this is the best time of year, of course, to talk sports. I mean, every week there's the NFL drama, the NBA camp opens up next week. We're going to talk a little Cincinnati Reds to open up because breaking news out of Cincinnati that we'll talk about. The Reds they were supposed to be in action today against the Pirates, but due to inclement weather, of course, the Reds game has been postponed. They will play the Pirates in that closeout game series next Monday, the 27th. It'll be Reds and Pirates, a 1:10 first pitch, and you can catch that right here on 1410 Wing AM as well. We're just, they could still possibly make the playoffs, but right now they're not playing good baseball, which is what made today's news a little surprising. Breaking news for the Cincinnati Reds and out of Major League Baseball just a little bit ago that the Cincinnati Reds and David Bell have agreed to a 2-year contract extension. Now, I tweeted that out earlier. I just was a little taken back by that. For one, the news had just come out that the Cincinnati Reds, of course, had postponed that game with the Pirates. And the last thing I'd expected was to hear news on David Bell. And all of a sudden, that's the report that starts circulating. And you got to start asking yourself, not just why was he extended by 2 years. And by the way, I will say this. I'm not a big David Bell fan for his managerial skill set. David Bell the person, don't know David Bell the person. Never heard anything bad about David Bell the person. So I want to make sure I put that disclaimer out there. Anything I say about David Bell comes from strictly baseball. I don't know the guy, so I'm not attacking him personally. But I think that if anyone is overwhelmed with the job he has done since arriving in Cincinnati, I don't know what to tell you. It's amazing. We spent a lot of time this week talking about the fan expectations for Ohio State football, and it amazes me the gap between expectations for teams like the Browns, the Bengals, the Reds, and Ohio State football. I don't want to repeat a lot of what we did yesterday, but to set the scene here a little bit before, as I dive into this David Bell stuff, Ryan Day at Ohio State has only lost three total games. He just lost his first ever regular season game against the number 3 team in the country by one possession. He follows it up with a 21-point win against Tulsa, which was an underwhelming performance. Of course, you saw a lot of the same struggles against Tulsa that we've seen in games 1 and 2, of course. But you actually have Buckeye fans calling for his job. No one's trying to compartmentalize the struggles. They're just jumping off the ledge. They're just jumping off the cliff. They don't want to live in a world where you lose by one possession to the number 3 team in the country. And they also don't want to live in a world where you only beat Tulsa by 21. So there's that aspect. I think the Buckeye fans are way over the top. And then you look at this current situation with the Cincinnati Reds extending David Bell. So many fans on Twitter are compartmentalizing. You have been conditioned to accepting losing. Buckeyes, Ohio State, got to give that program a ton of credit. They have conditioned us to expect greatness. We don't put up with anything but greatness. You only beat Tulsa by 21, fire the coach. You lose to the number 3 team in the country by one possession, fire the coach. David Bell has a record under 500 in 3 years. Very average at best. And everyone's like, oh, Kinner, you're just hating. You just hate David Bell. What are you mad at that extending David Bell? What did you expect him to do? And this is my favorite line. Considering the roster he was given, I think he's been doing a pretty good job. Well, folks, can you Can you give me an example of many managers that have lost their job that had good rosters? Like, losing's losing. And actually, when you look at a lot of the losing teams in baseball, and actually they're above 500 this year, which is, pretty crazy that we're talking about this. But it's not about the total accumulation of wins and losses at this point, because that is a little underwhelming when you look at the resume of David Bell, about 4 games under 500 career-wise as a manager of the Reds. But it's when you need the team to perform most, they've fallen flat. How David Bell doesn't have his team motivated to play in the playoffs last year after everything they went through in the shortened COVID 60-game season, I don't know. They look like a team that did not belong in the playoffs. They look like a team that had a lineup full of hitters that couldn't hit. You could say, well, David Bell doesn't swing the bat. Well, it ultimately does fall on David Bell's lap in regards to responsibility, right? And that's not me making that rule up for David Bell. That's just a rule that has always existed, since sports began. It's always on the coach. Like, that's just always how it is. I've never heard anyone say, that coach shouldn't be fired because he's not the one dropping passes. He's not the one missing field goals. He's not the one throwing interception. No, coaches are fired because their team is not performing. So to sit there and say, well, it's not David Bell's fault, he doesn't have a roster. If you look at all the teams right now who are playing some of their worst baseball down the stretch, teams that the Reds are losing to, like the Pirates, like the Cubs, like the Marlins, like the Tigers, those teams all have rosters that would kill to have the Reds roster. Even with guys out, even with Jesse Winker out. I talked about this at the tail end of yesterday's show. To sit there and say that David Bell's Reds are struggling because Jesse Winker is out, I think is a little crazy. I'm not saying that Jesse Winker being out does not impact this team, because of course it impacts this team. But you're not going to convince me that one position player being out for the Reds like that is why the Reds are struggling. Here's an example, one I gave yesterday. You take Bryce Harper off the Washington Nationals, not only did they get better, they actually went on to win a World Series. And the team that added Bryce Harper didn't make the playoffs and hasn't made the playoffs and isn't going to make the playoffs again. So I don't want, and Bryce Harper is way better than Jesse Winker. So if you mean to tell me that the Reds can't function without Jesse Winker, but the Nationals can win a World Series and make the postseason without Bryce Harper, you sound a little silly. Now, Mike Moustakas has been struggling, of course. He has not, Suarez has not, played well. But can you name another sport where players don't play or perform well, and that it doesn't end up falling in the lap of the manager player? If the Lakers come out this season, LeBron James only averages 18 points a game, and he's just not LeBron James of old, and he's old LeBron James, and the Lakers miss the playoffs, I guarantee you Frank Vogel's out of there. No one's going to say, well, it's not Frank Vogel's fault that LeBron's only averaging 18 points. No, the team result is what matters. The result of the team, the result of the individual players, the team is a conglomerate. At the end of the day, it always falls on the manager. I just think that right now the front office is in such a weird spot. I don't feel like they have a plan. I was really confident in the plan that they had in place about a year and a half ago. I loved what the Reds did with getting Sonny Gray and getting Trevor Bauer. They add Moustakas and, they add Castellanos. They add all of these pieces. And I felt like the front office had invested completely. And I love all of those moves. But the Reds fans continue to forget about the moves that the front office did make, and they only focus on the moves that the Reds front office didn't make. And let's be clear. The Reds are never going to be a complete roster top to bottom. They could be a 90-win team, which in my opinion, this roster was good enough to win 90 games, especially they were on pace to win about 90 games. So when you look at the fact that they have struggled the way that they have, yes, they have flaws, but you guys act as if the front office was going to put together a perfect bullpen, a perfect rotation, a perfect lineup, perfect bench. Give me a break. That doesn't even exist for some of the top spending teams in baseball. The Dodgers have a bullpen issue, and they spend a sick amount of money. So stop acting as if the front office failed this team. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't fail this team, but I'm also not going to say that the front office is to blame for everything, because the only reason that we have expectations to begin with is because they have Mike Moustakas. It's because they have Castellanos. It's because they have Sonny Gray. It's because, they have Luis Castillo. It's because they have Jesse Winker. This is all results of the front office. The front office has put the team in position for you, the fans, to have expectations. But what you're focused on is what the front office hasn't done, which is why they're struggling. Yes, they are struggling because the bullpen hasn't been strong enough. They're also struggling because I don't agree with the manager that they hired 2 years ago, especially when they had Joe Girardi in Cincinnati. There was reports of Joe Girardi getting tours of the city of Cincinnati. Everyone was losing their mind, and then they had David Bell. David Bell getting a 2-year contract extension doesn't make any sense, Kev, but it also, what that screams to me is that this team doesn't have a plan. And it's, well, we might as well give him an extension, because who else are we going to hire that's going to come in and do something different? My thing is, I think there's blame for David Bell. There's blame for the front office. But anyone acting as if David Bell has done enough to deserve the extension, I'm going to laugh in your face. I don't think he should be fired or exiled out of baseball. But I do think it's absolutely ridiculous that he got the 2-year extension. It makes zero sense. I am not going to give this a round of applause. I'm still scratching my head. I think David Bell has made so many managerial mistakes. How you can't win with Joey Votto playing at an MVP-like level. How you can't win with Nick Castellanos playing at an MVP level. Jesse Winker was playing at an MVP level. Eugenio Suarez hasn't performed well. Still on David Bell. It's under his watch. Like it, fair or not. Okay. I don't care. Moustakas hasn't lived up to the contract. That's fine. Still David Bell's responsibility to get it done. If you work if you're a chef at a restaurant and the owner gives you the top-notch ingredients to make the best meals out there, and you have the best ingredients and you still make subpar food, that is on the chef, and you will be judged on how your food comes out. That's David Bell. David Bell has been given a lot of really good top ingredients to make some really impressive meals, and they've been coming out a little dry. They've been coming out a little flaky. Left him in a little too long, took him out a little too early, a little doughy in the middle, too salty, not enough salt. Whatever it is, David Bell, I'm not going to lose sleep over him getting an extension because I think this team has bigger problems. But what it does signify to me is that the Reds do have bigger problems, because I feel like if they had a plan in place to go in a better direction, they would have moved on from David Bell and went in a different direction. Kev, I've hogged the first 10 minutes of the show. I'll tag you in because, it's your show too, so my apologies.
No problem. My question for you, what were your expectations for the team going into the season?
For one, their identity coming into the season was going to be a little bit average bullpen, average rotation, one of the best hitting teams in baseball. In the first half of the season, average rotation, one of the best hitting teams in baseball, horrible bullpen. Now, that bullpen, when you had Sims and you had TJ Antone and you didn't have Lorenzen to start, but you got him back in the second half of the season along with the additions they made at the All-Star break. Again, I'm not defending saying that this team had a World Series type roster, but the excuses I'm hearing are that, the front office gave David Bell nothing. They gave him enough pieces to be more competitive, especially in a year where your division, who was usually the best division in baseball, has been below average. The Brewers are your best team in that division. Very, very good. Not World Series favorites. They're not going to stack up well against the best teams in the National League, much less the top teams in the American League. And the Cubs, we knew they were about to blow that up when the season started. The Pirates, we knew they were going into, hey, let's verge on the line of being a AAA team versus a rebuilding team. And then the Cardinals have, they've underachieved. They've caught fire as of late, and they're holding down that final playoff spot. But this was the year to be aggressive. This was the year to win that division, and they're 14 games out.
Right.
Like, that's unacceptable. That is unacceptable. And like I said, there's blame to go all over. But this team had the talent to be more competitive than what they are. They're sitting a few games above 500. So you can't tell me this team's bad. They were 10 plus games above 500. They were holding down the wild card spot. So David Bell, if you're going to give him praise for getting him there, you have to give him praise for not keeping him there. That's the frustration. That's the frustration that I have with all of this, is we keep moving the goalpost. We have Buckeye fans who want Ryan Day fired for doing his job, and David Bell's not doing his job, and Reds fans are saying, well, it's not his fault that they don't have players. Give me a break. They have enough players. The Pirates would kill for the Reds roster right now. All right. A lot of these teams in last place would. I don't want to hear that.
My team, the Cleveland baseball team.
They would love that.
The Guardians, I would love to keep our pitching, but have the hitters that the Reds have. Mm-hmm. We will be World Series contenders. And for me, I just think it's the expectations, because I didn't really have high expectations for the Reds going into the season. But, that run right before the All-Star break got people's hopes up. Then, you lose a couple games after the All-Star break. And then I want to say, what was it, like the tail end of July, they went on another hot streak. And then in August, they've just been 500. And then in September, just the wheels have fell off. Just
the most important time.
Yeah.
You're judged for that. You're judged for, just like a closer is judged for what he does in the most high leverage portion of the game, right? Can you count on a field goal kicker in football to hit a game winning field goal, to hit high leverage kicks, to put you in position? We judge quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield throws the interception in week 1 against the Chiefs, and see, he can't lead the Browns whenever they're trailing, or he can't lead the Browns in crunch time in the most important time of the game. We judge everything in life that way in sports. But we're not going to judge David Bell for why were you good enough to keep this team playing at a high level despite their deficiencies in April, in May, in June, and July. And then all of a sudden, mid-August into September gets here, and all of a sudden he doesn't have a good roster anyway. The same deficiencies exist now that did at the beginning of the season. So you can't say, oh man, he's winning despite the deficiencies at the beginning of the season, and now say, well, those deficiencies are why he's losing. You proved you could win despite those deficiencies. I don't want to hear it. David Bell did not keep this team motivated to play at a level that they needed to play to try to make the playoffs. They lost a playoff spot, and they're continuing to trail. How did you lose to the Pirates? All I heard was about this easy schedule. You had 9, 10 plus games with the Pirates to close out. You can't even beat them. And you want me to feel bad for the Reds because of their deficiencies. You can't convince me about that their deficiencies are so bad that they can't even beat the Pirates, who don't even have a Major League Baseball roster. That is, give me a break, man. Like, it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable at all.
It's a wrap. It's over. There's no way. There's 10 games to go. We talked about they needed 9 yesterday. And the Cardinals won yesterday. So now what are you 4 games back? And you don't play the Cardinals, so you can't play them to take away from them to add to your win total. So it's a wrap, man. It's a wrap. Like, it's not happening.
It's not. The Cincinnati Reds right now 4 games back in the wild card again. They were 3 back, now 4 back. The Phillies 4.5 back. The Padres, they continue to plummet. They lost to the Giants. They're 5 games back. And that was the other thing, too, that's frustrating is you have the Cubs who are down. The Cardinals have been average, although they're holding down that wild card spot. But with the way that the Reds are playing, the Cardinals should not be sitting in that wild card spot. They should be the ones trailing the Reds, not the other way around. But the Padres have collapsed in the second half of the season. The Mets collapsed in the second half of the season. The Cubs roster got blown up at the trade deadline. They're not in the Reds' way. The Pirates are the Pirates, and the Reds didn't have any West Coast road trips where they traditionally struggle. They didn't run into the Brewers a whole hell of a lot in crunch time in the months of September or of August and September. So I'm the Phillies. I'm looking at all these teams that should be dominating. The Phillies roster and their payroll. The Phillies should be dominating in baseball. The Mets should be dominating in baseball. The Padres should be dominating in baseball. And the Reds caught a break with all 3 of those teams playing, being underachieving. They caught a break by the Cubs blowing up their roster. They caught a break by the Cardinals not being good until the last couple weeks of the season. They caught a break by having the Pirates in their division. They caught a break by the Brewers, who also have deficiencies. That's not an unbeatable Brewers team. They're not even, if you look at all the division winners of the NL Central over the last 10 years, they're probably ranked 10th. This isn't a great roster. This isn't they're not going to win a World Series. So there's so much that the Reds should have capitalized on. I promise you, the Reds will never find a situation like this for a long, long time. I'm 30 years old, and I can't remember a time where the NL Central was so weak from top to bottom that the Reds could not capitalize on it. It's unacceptable. And I'm sorry if I'm being too negative for a lot of you. I know some of you are used to it, but I'm just frustrated because David Bell was the cherry on top of me finally just blowing up about the struggles of this season, because we should not be talking about that. Joey freaking Votto has a breakout year. Not a breakout year. We know what he's capable of, but resurgence. And it's disappointing that the Reds couldn't even capitalize on that. Joey Votto deserves to be playing in October. He did his part. David Bell didn't do his, and a lot of his teammates didn't do their part either. It's really disappointing. All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. You've heard what we have to say. I'm curious your thoughts. We are live on Facebook. Let your opinion be known on Facebook. Search the Justin Kinner Show. Like and subscribe. Watch the show. We're going to take your opinions on this situation. The Reds extending David Bell for 2 more years. We're going to, get your opinions on this. Am I being too hard? Am I being too hard on this situation? Am I being too hard on David Bell? I know there's some who agree with me based on the comments, but I want to hear from someone who disagrees. Why am I being too hard on David Bell? We'll also open up the phone lines. Give us a call, 518-1410. 518-1410. The Cincinnati Reds have extended David Bell right in the midst of one of the biggest collapses in Reds history when it comes to the postseason. Give us a call, 518-1410. We'll hear your thoughts on the other side. Am I being too hard on David Bell? Did the Reds make the right choice by giving him that extension? We'll be back in just a moment.
Yeah! It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be cloudy and windy with rain, a high near 58. Tonight will also be cloudy and windy with rain, a low near 50. And tomorrow will be cloudy and windy with rain, a high near 60. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
If you are push mowing your yard using an inefficient lawn tractor, or your current zero-turn spends more time in the shop than mowing your grass, it's time you look at the Hustler Zero-Turn Lawnmower. Residential mowers from Hustler are built like tanks and drive like sports cars. All Hustler mowers have fabricated welded steel decks. Don't settle on cheap units with flimsy stamped decks from big box stores. See Small Engine Service Pros and we'll guide you to the right mower for your property and your budget. 2030 North Dayton Lakeview Road, Route 235 in New Carlisle.
I'm Serena Williams. You watch me live on TV.
And I'm that voice from movies you watch on demand. DirecTV Stream brought us together to save the world.
Maybe not save the world, but DirecTV Stream does bring your live and on-demand favorites together.
Your favorites together.
I just said that.
She just said that.
Introducing DirecTV Stream, the best of live TV and on-demand with no annual contract. Get your TV together at DirecTV.com.
Requires high-speed internet and compatible device. Content varies by package and location. Restrictions apply.
Wouldn't a piping hot Marion's pizza go great about now? With dripping cheese, a crunchy crust, and loaded with your favorite toppings, served with a cold draft beer. Or how about a Marion submarine, steak or meatball sandwich, or maybe a Marion spaghetti? With a garlic bread and a crisp dinner salad, anything you choose from Marion's complete menu is sure to please, whatever the time. So stop by any one of Marion's 9 convenient Dayton area locations where you can dine in or carry out.
Follow ESPN 1410 Wing AM on Facebook to watch The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Listen, stream, and now watch. It's The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzz driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Don't miss the ESPN Dayton Glacier Softwater High School Football Game of the Week every Friday night, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers and Justin Kinner will have the call all season long. Check out wingam.com for the complete schedule and to stream the games live. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
So breaking news, just about a little over an hour to go, the Cincinnati Reds and manager David Bell have agreed to a 2-year contract extension extension. David Bell's current win-loss record in his 3 seasons with the Reds, he's won 184 games and 190 losses. Now, that's average. Now, you could say, well, the Reds have been average. And yes, look, there's enough blame to go around. I don't think that all the struggles of the Reds should be pointed at one person, just like I don't think that the Reds' struggles should be pointed to the front office. People are acting like, well, yeah, but the Reds' front office has never done enough to put them in position to win this or that. You're right, they have not. So acting as if you expected something different, I don't know what to tell you. But to be fair, if you go look at a lot of the top teams in Major League Baseball, there's a weakness on every one of those teams. The one thing that all those teams don't have is inconsistent stretches. Now, there's always going to be inconsistencies, don't get me wrong, but they limit those inconsistencies, and that's on the manager, limiting the one-run losses. All right, bringing in, taking out your starters way too, because all I hear about is, well, you got to save them for later in the season. Got to save them for later in the season. At what point is that later in the season considered? Like, are we in that period now? Did we pull all of our starters like in the 4th inning in April and May for September? Like, help me out here, folks. Like, what are we saving them for? The postseason that we never make? Oh, but Justin, we made the postseason last year. Stop. 60 game shortened season. Last year, I mean, it counts, but it doesn't count because really what it comes down, I mean, if the 162 game season, it's a marathon and there's a lot that can happen in that. Yes. Oh, but the Reds had injuries. Every team has injuries. Every team has their star players miss a significant amount of time. Every team has some of their best players, have some slumps. But it's not every year where you have an opportunity to win a division that is, well, winnable, especially when you have one of the best divisions in baseball in the NL Central having one of its worst seasons. This was the year to capitalize. And it wasn't just the NL Central. The struggles of the Phillies, who were expected to be very competitive. The struggles of the Mets. They plummeted after the All-Star break. The Mets were expected to do so much more. They didn't go out and get Francisco Lindor. They didn't go out and get a lot of the pieces that they did so that they could miss the playoffs. The Reds benefited from them not performing at the level that they were supposed to. The Padres, they spent a sick amount of money the last couple of seasons. They didn't do that to miss the playoffs, so the Reds should have capitalized right there, and they didn't. The Cubs, they've been dominating this division since 2015. And, finally, they blow that roster up. That was another opportunity for the Reds to capitalize on, and they didn't. The Cardinals did not live up to the billing, although they finally started winning here in the part of the season that counts the most. I always say they're the San Antonio Spurs, or at least the old Spurs of the 90s and 2000s. They were the Spurs of Major League Baseball, not the flattering roster, but they just always got the job done. And guess what? They're doing the job once again. But they haven't been overwhelming. They haven't been unbeatable. The Reds should have been able to handle their own against that Cardinals team, and they didn't. And to top it all off, they're losing to the Pirates. They're losing to the Tigers. You're losing to the Marlins. You're losing to bad teams. You're losing to the Cubs. That's unacceptable. That is not acceptable. That does fall on David Bell. And I don't want to hear any more excuses. So again, David Bell, 184 and 190, his win-loss record as manager of the Cincinnati Reds, with where we sit. Now, we are live on Facebook, and everyone has kind of let their opinion be known over on the sidebar. We're going to pull your comments into the show so you could be a part of this as well. Doug Toby, David Bell apologist, I think he runs their fan club. He says, people who are mad at David Bell are maybe mad at the wrong people. Maybe he is just the right puppet for management. People should be mad at management for pulling his strings. Again, when I criticize David Bell, and I put this disclaimer out multiple times, it's not a situation of I'm saying the Red struggles are his fault. But I'm also not going to accept, Doug, a lot of fans' hatred towards the front office, saying that the front office is why they failed. Did you guys feel, Reds fans, that the front office failed you when they brought over Castellanos? Did you feel that the front office failed you when they brought Moustakas and Sonny Gray and Trevor Bauer? Do you feel like they let you down in all of those situations? Did you feel like they let you down when they got Eugenio Suarez's extension at a steal? Because that was a great deal. Getting Luis Castillo, that was a pretty good get for the front office. When they brought over Puig and Alex Wood, and they made a lot of those, they did a lot of that to be able to put themselves in position, to get some bigger pieces. A lot of cash dumping going on, but those were some great moves. All I got to say is this front office is not perfect. All right, they have their limitations. I hear small market. I'm not a big fan of that excuse, but I'm not saying they're perfect. But to sit here and talk about them as if they're Mike Brown and company, that's just a damn joke. And with that material, you wouldn't even get a laugh at the funny bone. right now. That's how weak that material is. Like, it's not okay to sit there and say that it's the front office, because if you want to, I mean, like, let's be clear. Brian Price would have killed to have a Sonny Gray and a Luis Castillo and a Trevor Bauer. He would have killed to have Alex Wood. He would have killed to have Yasiel Puig. He would have killed to have all of these star players that are on this Reds roster, a Castellanos, a Moustakas. He would have killed to have all of those guys. He would have killed to have a Jesse Winker that's playing at an all-star MVP caliber level. He would have killed to have all of those things. And yet we ran him out. You know, I didn't hear anybody say, well, why are we blaming Brian Price, Kinner? Because I'm pretty sure the front office didn't give him anything to be successful with. No one said that. They said he sucked. Can't win with him. Get him out of here. That was you guys. The same guy's telling me that, well, it's not David Bell's fault that these guys aren't performing, but it was Brian Price's fault for when the Reds weren't winning, when they had, well, the Pirates roster, basically. Stop moving the goalposts, guys. Like this, it's okay to be a Reds fan and still say, yeah, David Bell, you ain't it. It's okay to be a Bengals fan and say, yeah, Mike Brown, you suck at building an offensive line. It's okay to be a Browns fan and say, you know, Baker Mayfield, I like him, but I don't know if he's a top 5 quarterback. It's okay to say those things and still be considered a fan. It's okay to be a Buckeye fan and say, you know, Ryan Day, I am a little concerned about, like, Tennessee Jeff, biggest Buckeye fan I know. Mm-hmm. At times, I've accused him of being a homer. At times, I'm like, man, Tennessee Jeff was over the top today. He brought the biggest homer takes you could imagine. Tennessee Jeff called in yesterday and literally said, I love Ryan Day, but I feel like Ryan Day has lost that locker room. That is a homer saying that. And he's still a huge Buckeye fan. He hasn't lost his Buckeye fan card. You don't have to always defend your losing organization's moves all the time. You don't have to defend David Bell. Why are you defending David Bell? Because you destroyed Brian Price for losing ball games, and he had no talent. David Bell doesn't have all the talent in the world, but if you look at how his roster stacks up against some of the other losing teams in baseball, he should be still holding down that second wild card spot, if not competing for the damn division against the Brewers. Coming out of the All-Star break and not having them prepared and they get swept right out of the gate, that's weak. That is not okay. That is not okay. He is not deserving of a 2-year extension. Not in my book. Not by no one's reading my book. I'm not an Amazon. I'm not a New York Times bestseller by any means. Any of that stuff. Like, bottom line is, my book says, nope, not the guy. Vincent Waller says the Reds front office does not care about becoming a perennial playoff contender. They don't spend the money to be competitive year after year. They are fine making the playoffs once every few years, so of course they extend Yes Man that they hired. Bell does a ton of head-scratching things, and I don't like him, but to me, nothing will change with this front office ownership. That's a fair assessment right there. Yeah. Saying, hey, David Bell, he frustrates me. Doesn't make a lot of the right moves, but at the same time, the front office they don't have a plan, a long-term plan. They make moves to be competitive for like 1 year at a time, but there's no drawn-out plan. That I agree with, Vincent. I think that's a good take.
That's alarming, man. So, like, I always struggle with this. Like, why are they in business then? If they're not in it to win it, then why are you in business? Like, if you're not trying to win it all, I get there's situations in different sports and all sports for that matter. Like, you go through ups and downs. Sometimes you just don't have it. Sometimes you don't have the guys to win the championship. You know, we can go back to Philadelphia, you know, with the trust the process and everything like that. But that's alarming if you don't have a plan. Like, if you don't have a plan, that means you're going nowhere. You're just spinning your rudders, and then as a fan base, you spend a lot of money to go to these games, spend a lot of money on tickets, parking, beverages, food at the gates to go have a good time. And the best way to have a good time at a game is for your team to win and for your team to contend. So I don't know the financial situations of the Reds, but you would imagine more winning equals more money, right? Like that's why the Yankees are always spending money, because they got it for one, but you know, they know that winning championships is their business. That's what they do. Like, look at the Los Angeles Lakers. You know, when Kobe Bryant was on the back end of his career and hurt and everything like that, and D'Angelo Russell was on the team, and like all these young guys and everything like that, they were spinning their rudders. And then Kobe retires, and they drafted a whole bunch of young guys that just wasn't happening. So what did? They went and got LeBron James, and then magically Anthony Davis showed up, and then magically they won a national championship, NBA World Championship. That's their business. Their business is winning championships. I'm not sure that every organization in baseball and in NBA or NFL, that's their goal. I'm not sure if that's their goal. I think that the Patriots are in it to try to win it every single year. I think that the Lakers are in it to try to win it every year. I'm not sure if every team out there is trying to win a championship every single season or even put themselves in a position to win it at least once every 5 years. I think some of these teams do just spend money just to say, all right, we're doing something. We're just going with the flow. Like, you can't operate like that. That's not the way you want to operate a team, especially as a fan. You want to see your team at least trying to do something and hold people accountable. And you talked about coaches. Coaches are responsible for a litany of things, but at the least having your guys ready and having them motivated to go down the stretch. Like we talked about September, man. We talked about everything that's going on with the Mets, going on with the Yankees and everything like that. You think that these managers are going to last in New York City doing stuff like this? Not going to happen. You know, we hear a ton of stories that people like go back to the 70s and early 80s about the manager that was fired and rehired multiple times by the Yankees. Like World Series winning managers were fired and things like that. We talk about this in college football too. Gene Chizik, he won a national championship. 1 year later, you're out of here. Like that happens. So, I mean, I'm with holding your team and your manager and everything like that accountable for wins and losses, but I'm not on the ledge of saying like, all right, man, we're just going to be cool with the status quo. And that seems like what a lot of Reds fans are cool with, the status quo. And like, I think we're getting two ends of the pendulum. We're getting cool with the status quo with the Reds, and we're getting over the top with the Buckeye fans.
No in between.
Got to be a happy in between. There's got to be a happy in between, man. You can't be on both of these fans. I want to hear from somebody that's cool with David Bell but wants to fire Ryan Day. I want to talk to them. Please call us.
How can you justify? How do you compartmentalize?
Yes,
that?
Because I know there's somebody out there that sees it that way, and I want to know why. Is it all about expectations? Did you not expect the Reds to contend for a playoff spot, but you only consider that the Buckeyes should be contending for a national championship every year? Like, is that what it's based off of? Is it based off of expectations?
Well, you talk about finding that happy medium. Here's a prime example here. Back after the All-Star break, when the Reds caught on fire again, they had just swept the Marlins. The Reds and the Yankees had the same record at that time. Or they didn't have the same record. They were the same games back of a playoff spot. Aaron Boone, Yankees fans wanted him fired.
Yep.
Reds were 6-7 games above 500. Everyone's like, oh, where's all the David Bell haters now? I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. Like the expectations, they change drastically when it comes to this organization. And this is why yesterday, like, and I almost sound hypocritical to a certain extent because I'm torn on when you look big picture, like especially Ohio State. There was a caller, I forgot who the caller was yesterday, that had called in and said that for the 40-year-olds and younger that we're spoiled and that we're entitled, mainly because of the fact that, we're sitting here wanted Ryan Day fired because we expect championship or bust, and that, this caller was old enough to remember the struggles of Ohio State, or maybe not so much the struggles, but just hey, we weren't always a championship or bust program. So I've seen it. And I said, I agree with that take. I like that. But then the more I thought about it, I'm like, you know why Ohio State will not put up with losing long, which, sometimes I think increases the pressure for Ryan Day and they're not losing, by the way, just to reset that. But Ohio State won't put up with losing from Ryan Day or anybody. Fickle had 1 year to try and prove that he could maybe get the job done, even though you were never going to win that job over Urban Meyer. Let's just be clear. But it's you lose, you're out. You lose, you're out. You lose, you're out. And do you know why that expectation exists? Because the fans will not sit back and let that program get buried. Mm-hmm. The fans will not let Ohio State dip down into that. The fans will not let Ohio State become Michigan in that regards. So fans have more power than we think. That's why when I get mad at who was it with the Mets that was putting the thumbs down at the fans a while back and saying that they don't play and all that stuff, but you don't make the money you make, you don't have the job you do, you don't play the game you do if it's not for the fans. So the fans have a ton of power. They have a ton of power with how they view games, how they attend games, but they also have the power of the pressure that they put on front offices and organizations. And I think that the Reds fans have failed this team because we sit back and make corny excuses for why David Bell has been a great manager. And I just don't, considering all the deficiencies this team has, David Bell should be manager of the year. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like, that's embarrassing. I can't believe you said that or typed that for people to read and said it out loud for people to hear. hear. It's embarrassing. 518-1410. Kev, who we have?
We got Chuck.
Chuck, how are you, sir? Welcome in.
Hey, I appreciate you having me.
So which side are you on? Are you going to defend David Bell, which we want? We want someone to kind of talk us off this anti-David Bell ledge, or if you agree with us, I always like when people agree with me.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to completely agree with you. I feel like they have a ton of talent. They've got a lot of talent in the minor league system. I don't understand. I can't put my finger on it. I was watching them just disintegrate and I've been so hopeful. My father, he passed. He was a huge Reds fan. So anytime they get a little bit of, momentum, I'm all in. It's like, it's easy to love the Reds for whatever reason, but my God, what is going on? It's like, if their pitching does decent, then their backs just fall apart. And I don't know that it's David Bell, but I'll tell you, I would kill to have Dusty Baker. Just an old classic manager that actually enjoyed the game, made the game more enjoyable. Yes, we lost playoff games, and I actually would concur that it was in part because of Dusty Baker at times. I will say that. I mean, I know he's not batting, but he did some really strange things. But so what? Guess what? The Reds were in the playoffs, and he would have figured it out. Yeah, Bill Cowher was one of my favorite coaches. He made some mistakes too. I watched, everybody can sit back and say, well, I would have done that differently. But you don't say that when things go right. Even though you may have been thinking that was a poor choice. The reality is Dusty Baker and people like him are the reason that baseball is really what it is. It's those personalities that knew how to get players up and knew how to give players time off. And I'm not sure David Bell just looked at a computer or what he sounds like a computer. I'm sorry to ramble on. I love the Reds. I was really, really hopeful that they would at least make this BS one game, which I still think is atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine if you had a really good record like the Padres and you made it despite the fact that the Giants and the Dodgers got in and you had that really good record, then you got beaten a one game wild card, you'd be like, oh my gosh. It should be 5 games, period.
Yeah, like a 90-plus win team, and you play 162 games, you win 90 of them, just to win or go home. Okay, I like the urgency's there for fans to tune in and watch, but it's like you're creating this urgent game to tune in and watch just so you could send everyone back to a 7-game series where they're going to kind of sleep on that a little bit.
Exactly.
It doesn't make you.
Exactly.
By the way, you weren't rolling on. You were making a lot of good points, and I'm glad you brought up Dusty Baker because I remember back during that time it was like I was in the minority there whenever it came to Dusty Baker. Yeah, like if you would say anything positive about David Baker, people would destroy you, and I'm like, really? Those same people that would destroy Dusty Baker for having the team in the playoffs regularly are the same ones destroying this guy. I feel like the Bengals are going to get there eventually with the Marvin Lewis and Zach Taylor stuff. I think they're going to be in the same boat.
Well, I'm not sure about Zach Taylor. I just thought that was a strange pick. And I'm not a Bengals fan. I'm a Steelers fan. I've spoken to you before, Justin, and I always like what you have to say. I think you're usually right on. I really like Kevin.
You the man. You're a Steelers fan like me.
Yeah, I'm a big Steelers fan, and really, honestly, I believe that this year is a dump, and it's going to be rough. And I finally came to the realization. I'll be really brief on this point. But people are going to talk about the Steelers a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals beat them this week. I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers win this week. It really just wouldn't surprise me either way. But I will say this. I finally, as a Steelers fan, it's really hard for me to ever, diagnose the problem because, as soon as I see, a splash play, then I think everything's fine again. I'm just, just one of those diehard fans, and I want everything to be fine so much. But when I saw those stats, 10 hits, 2 sacks on Ben Roethlisberger, and he got rid of the ball in 2.3 seconds. You got it. You listen. And Najee Harris is a stud. He was a 5-star running back out of high school. He was one of the best running backs in college football. He's not. He didn't just forget how to run the ball. The truth of the matter is, this offensive line. Justin, you were unfortunately right about that too. Because I do recall back before the draft, everybody was clamoring for some excitement. And I was too. You want your team. I used to get so mad when they take David DeCastro. But then I'd be like, oh, my God, thank God we have David DeCastro. Marquise Pouncey. Gosh, I wish we would have taken that splash pick, and then 2 years later, you're like, oh, my God, thank God we have Marquise Pouncey. Well, I can't remember after Marquise Pouncey when the last time the Steelers actually took an offensive lineman in the first or second round. I'm sure they have once or twice, maybe, but I don't remember it. I just don't remember it. I remember a lot of defensive picks. I remember giving up picks to get defensive players. And yeah, our defense looks like that's the case. But at some point, if you're not investing in your offensive line, you become the Bengals. I've always said, if you gave me the manager keys to the Bengals for one season, I guarantee in 5 years later, all I had was one season. 5 years later, they would be a much better team because rounds 1 through 7, I don't care. I would create so much competition on that offensive line. It would be crazy. But 1 through 7, I would take all offensive linemen and then just weed them out and trade them for other little running backs here or there that didn't quite make the team. And that's just the facts. I mean, it all is the trenches. So, yes, I'm a huge Steelers fan. I think this year is a bust. I really, really, truly do. And I hate to say it because I love Big Ben. He's been great. 18 years with the same team. That's something you just don't get very often, and I'm excited about that. But the reality is, if he's going to get killed out there, and then Mason Rudolph's going to get mauled out there, and on and on.
It's going to be an O-line competition on. It's going to be who has the worst offensive line on Sunday. That's who's going to lose. So it's really going to come down to that. But hey, man, we're out of time.
Exactly.
I appreciate it.
Hey, you guys have a great day. I appreciate having me on.
Take care.
Thanks, Chuck.
All right, 518-1410. 518-1410. That's the number to call in and join in on the conversation. One post from YouTube came in, Kev, that I really like. He's talking about Sparky Anderson. Sparky famously said, great players make great managers. On paper, this team is stacked. They are loaded with potential, but cannot compete in September. Something is seriously wrong, of course, talking about the Reds. I don't think the roster is stacked, but I don't think that the way that the fans rip the front office, you would think that this roster is like what's left of the Cubs and the Pirates right now roster after blowing everything up at the deadline. And that cannot be farther from the truth. Like, you guys sound ridiculous. Like, it doesn't make sense to sit there and say that the front office is the main reason this team's losing. They gave David Bell enough talent to win and be competitive with. And you wait to the last month of the season to really have your worst performances. I'm sorry, you're judged by what you do in crunch time. And what David Bell has done in crunch time is, well, nothing. And it's too bad. It really is. All right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. We'll step away for a few moments, more social media reaction. We're going to get into some NFL talk at the top of the hour. Impressed or not impressed? We're going to talk Browns-Bengals. We're going to pull some bullet points from the start to the start of the season, 2 games in for both the Browns and Bengals. We'll talk about what we're impressed with, not impressed with, and then we'll find out where you guys fall in that mess as well. We'll be back in just a moment. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Contractors and homeowners, do you have a project to do? Knock one out of the park this year and rent your equipment from Arts Rental Equipment. With over 50 years experience, Arts Rental has the best selection of equipment, including aerial lifts, skid steers, excavators, generators, saws, lawn and landscaping equipment, and so much more. Arts Rental can help you get the job done. Plus, Arts delivers too. For your next job or project, big or small, work smart. Rent from Arts.
Did you know Prilosec OTC can stop frequent heartburn before it begins? Block heartburn at the source by taking the Prilosec OTC 2-week challenge. With just 1 pill a day, you get 24-hour heartburn relief. Start today and sign up at prilosecotc.com for $3 off. Just 1 pill a day, 24 hours, 0 heartburn. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
Buy Prilosec OTC at Walmart or walmart.com. Start the 2-week challenge today and see the difference for yourself.
Now that commission-free trading is the norm, it's time to rethink how we define value. Value is more than a price tag. It's the confidence of knowing you have a team of traders on standby to answer any question. It's thinkorswim's charting and analysis tools, and it's a personalized education to fine-tune your skills. Value is becoming smarter with every commission-free online equity trade. Discover true value with TD Ameritrade, where smart investors get smarter.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on the Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken.
Call It Propane has been serving the Buckeye Nation in the Miami Valley for over 65 years.
Let our family help protect your family from old man winter. Find out why 98% of our customers would recommend us to friends and family. Ask about the service options at 937-372-9194.
Family owned and operated for 3 generations, Call It Propane and Call It Seal Coating are proud to serve the Buckeye Nation.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
Oh, what? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
NFL fans, the season is finally here. Get your picks submitted at wingam.com. Click on contest and enter the Pro Football Challenge. Weekly winners will win $20 in Frickers Fun Bucks. Get to wingam.com and get your NFL picks submitted now.
Touchdown! Incredible!
Good luck.
This Sunday morning, well, kind of early afternoon, I guess, 11:30. What is 11:30? I always get so at work when I go to email clients and stuff. At what point of the morning do you stop saying good morning?
Noon.
See, because I'm a morning person and I'm up so dang early, when I send emails to clients, like when I get to like past 10, I don't say good afternoon, but I don't say good morning. I stop saying good morning after 10.
What do you say?
Just say, I don't know.
What's up?
But I know for a fact I don't ever say good morning after 10 o'clock because I feel like I've been up for 4 or 5 hours by that point, and I just feel like it's
good day.
No way it's still morning. Actually, I try to avoid saying it's still morning to kind of convince myself that, man, maybe I shouldn't be getting up so dang early every single day.
What time do you get up?
5:30, 6 o'clock. No alarm clock. It's just, I'm wired that way.
Me too.
I was on vacation last week and I was driving, my housemate's crazy because I was, now, the beach is badass early in the morning. So I'm up, cracking on every morning. Everyone's kind of coming downstairs or coming out of their room, like, all sleepy, crusty eyed. And there I am. I've already sent like 50 emails, gotten a ton of work done, talked with everybody. And I'm like, all right, let's go to the beach. What are we doing, guys? Let's go. And I'm getting the death glares from everybody. Like, dude, shut up. But
need my coffee.
Nora's not a morning person. So I'm 9 years into this thing. I just know don't talk to her till after 10, or don't expect a legitimate conversation with her until after 10. So there you go. But this Sunday morning, I say all of that to get to this. This Sunday morning at 11:30, we're going to be live at Frickers on 741. College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers and myself for the Sunday morning tailgate show. Pretty pumped about that. Frickers 741, 11:30 to 1. We're going to walk you right up to kickoff. Of course, Browns and Bengals both in action. The Browns and the Bears, Steelers and the Bengals. 1 o'clock to kickoff for both of those games this Sunday. We're going to be at Frickers hanging out. I'll be talking smack. You guys can come talk smack, but you can't do anything to me because my bodyguard Byers will be right there to take care of anyone that tries to mess with me. But no, we're pumped. We're going to be giving away WWE Extreme Rules tickets this Sunday at Frickers. So WWE Extreme Rules will be this Sunday night at Nationwide Arena in Columbus. So by coming out to Frickers, you can register to win Extreme Rules tickets for that night. We will also be giving away Dave Matthews Band tickets. We gave away a couple pair yesterday. You can go get high at the Dave Matthews Band concert next week.
Don't start, man. Shayla was listening yesterday. She's like, you couldn't stop laughing about that get high line.
Who?
Shayla. No. I was like, it was funny.
Grow up, Kev. Seriously,
No.
Shayla, I agree. So juvenile. I mean, my goodness. Grow up. You see what I got to deal with? These childish antics every single day. It's exhausting. But this
so
Sunday,
funny.
Sunday morning tailgate show, Keith Byers and I will get you set for all the day's biggest NFL action, plus recapping what is hopefully it'll be a win, but what kind of win? Will it be that Tulsa win where it felt like a loss, or will it be like one of those wins where Ohio State puts everyone on notice and says, hey, it's not about who we played, it's about who we are and who how we showed up. Ohio State Akron, I'm going to that game. I've never been to a night game at the Shoe, so I'm pretty pumped about that. So I'm pretty pumped. I'm going to my first night game at the Shoe this Saturday night.
You
but
picked a
holy
doozy.
smokes. What's it? Yeah. I don't care. It's the Shoe at night, and I'm hoping that there's more than 76,000 fans in attendance. How about that low number? I did forget how hot it was last Saturday. I was trying to figure it out from Florida. Like, by the way, I left Ohio. It was better. You had better weather here than I did in Florida.
Oh, it rained while you were down there, right?
Oh, it rained and rained some more. And
Was that remnants from the hurricane? Or just was raining?
It's just, this week it's all beautiful sunshine and rainbows the whole time. So it's like Curse of the Kinner stuff that we always talk about. But it was hot that day, I guess. It's tough getting into the Shoe, parking, all that stuff. But I can't imagine that going to an LSU or a Bama or any other D1 college football game that it's just pull up, park, and walk right in.
Right.
So I don't
Especially in a city like Columbus, because we got to be clear, man. A lot of these other colleges are in college towns. Columbus is a city. Ohio State is a city all on to itself.
Mm-hmm.
So like that, the parking, it sucks to park. You got to pay a lot of money to park. You got to walk a long way to get to the stadium. Whatever, man. You know what you're doing. You know what you're getting into when you go to an Ohio State game. You know exactly what you're getting into when you go to a Cincinnati Bengals game or a Browns game. You know what you're getting into. Like, there's very few people that go to their very first game. You know what I'm saying? Like, most people that are at these games have been a million times before. So that whole line about the parking and then I don't feel like that. Look, man,
that's expected.
That's to be expected. It's Ohio State. It's 100. It sits over 100,000 people. What you thought you was gonna get prime parking? So you got that good parking pass? You think you Keith Byers? You think you Jim Tressel? You ain't want no jewelry up in that place.
Think you're Justin Kinner? I didn't get a parking pass.
You're going to be parking way in the back.
Shout out to my guy Bob's, by the way.
Got that plug.
Got the parking pass. That's all. I was more excited about the parking pass than the tickets, to be honest with you. So there's that.
I remember I went to a concert in Cincinnati and we got a parking pass and it was so great because like you show it and it just wave you in. And it was in a parking garage. It was in the wintertime and everything like that. And it snowed. Didn't have to worry about that.
I was like
lovely.
Grinning at the peasants waiting to. And they're paying for stuff like a bunch of morons. I'm like, yeah, here's my free pass. Here's my free tickets. Boom. Shakalaka. But Ohio State Akron this Saturday night. So Sunday morning at Frickers on 741 by the Dayton Mall, the Sunday morning tailgate show. We'll recap college football Saturday as well as get you set for, of course, week 3 of the NFL. A lot going on there. We'll have our picks tomorrow, of course. Week 3 technically kicks off tomorrow night, Thursday night football. So I'm pretty jacked about heading into this weekend. I expect fans to be there. It's a good time. And like I said, we'll be giving away Dave Matthews Band tickets. We'll be giving away WWE Extreme Rules tickets. So let's have some fun this Sunday. But again, we appreciate everyone who's been chiming in on social media. Real quick, Doug Toby Kev says, the only bad thing about the Shoe is if you have 6 fat guys in your row, you are in trouble. Now, those bleacher seats are the worst because the bleacher seats are marked off, and every number that is marked off on those bleachers, like there's no divide there. It's just you got to sit your cheeks on that number.
Yeah.
But some people have bigger cheeks than others.
Right.
I mean, a year ago, 2020, Kenner would have taken up 2 numbers. Now I'm maybe taking up a number and a half, like a year later, about a number and a half. But no, he's not wrong. It's funny. I've shared this story before. I've done the tour of Lambeau Field over in Green Bay, covering a game years ago. And they were giving us a tour. It's the only stadium in football that every seat there is bleacher seating. And they've done research because they don't want to mess with Lambeau. Lambeau's a historic, landmark there. It's a historic field. They don't want to mess with it. If they took the bleacher seating out and put the regular bucket seats in, they would lose 2,000 seats, which you could imagine, which is already one of the smaller stadiums in the NFL. Imagine the money you'd be losing. So it's just not worth it. That's why they leave it the way it is. Can you imagine, though, Lambeau in December, January?
No.
Sitting on metal bleacher seats like that. Holy smokes, dude.
And the rain.
Thank you, way. But no thanks as far as that's concerned. Doug brings up a good point, though.
Doug, what do you think? You think that's the worst part about the shoe? How about the trough bathrooms? That is the worst thing about the shoe.
I remember
dude.
The Cubs. I went to a Cubs game years ago, and they were renovating that place, and they had the trough. I was going to say something I can't say. The
commodes.
There we go. The commodes.
You would imagine all the money that we spend on tickets, popcorn, cocoa, alcohol, merchandise. They could upgrade the bathrooms at the shoe. Dude, I literally hold it. I'm not using it in here, bro. I refuse. I'm not about to.
So you're that guy behind me where his legs just bouncing up and down the whole time because you're just thinking about something else.
Or I'll go during the game, because everybody goes at halftime. I'll go on 4th and 1. We're trying to punch it in the end zone. I'll go then because I know everybody is paying attention to the game. I'll catch the replay. Yo, they got to do something about those troughs, bro.
All right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kevin Nash. You heard it here first. Get the toilets fixed, would you? Get the bathrooms fixed. Justin Kinner, Kevin Nash,
Gene Smith
with you here, wrapping up. He can't focus on bathrooms. He's looking for a new head coach. These Buckeye fans want a new head coach. He doesn't have time to worry about
Ryan Day's fault.
Ryan Day, yeah, exactly.
CJ Stroud's fault that they got trouble.
His team was a bathroom. It would be that right there. Hour 1 in the books. Hour 2 coming up next. Impressed, not impressed. We'll dive into the first couple of weeks of the NFL season with the Browns and the Bengals. What are you impressed with, not impressed with? We'll throw out 5 different bullet points of the start to the NFL season for both your Browns and the Bengals. We'll talk about what we are impressed with and not impressed with. That's all coming up 5 minutes from now. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. We are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
And into the end zone goes Chris Olave. KJ Hill, 6-yard touchdown catch. Right sideline and down he goes to the end zone.
WING 1410 Dayton's ESPN Radio.
The soothing scent of Vicks Vapor Rub. It's only one of the most iconic smells ever. That cooling, comforting scent generations of families have come to trust to help them feel better. And now you trust to soothe your family. Pick up some Vicks Vapor Rub in the little blue jar and wrap yourself with the calm only Vicks Vapor Rub can bring. Vicks Vapor Rub, always there for you.
Hey, welcome to Everything Outdoors. Can I help you find anything?
Hey, yeah. Can you point us to the camping gear?
Sure, aisle 2.
Snowboarding? Just bought a new Nissan Pathfinder. It's got intelligent 4x4, and we want to hit the backcountry.
Aisle 18.
And the boats?
Are you sure you can do all this?
Up to 6,000 pounds towing, we're good to go. Oh, where's the scuba gear?
Return to rugged in the all-new 2022 Nissan Pathfinder. Available intelligent 4x4 cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions. Towing capability varies by configuration. See Nissan Owner's Manual for proper use.
CVS pharmacists have a tool designed to look for ways that may help lower your prescription costs. Visit CVS today.
Gathering your family around the dinner table for a home-style meal from Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken is the perfect way to end a fall day. At Lee's, homestyle happens here with our 12-piece family meal for only $32.99. You'll get 12 mixed pieces of Lee's fresh, never-frozen Famous Recipe Chicken that's honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and pressure-cooked to perfection, served up with 3 large sides and 6 fluffy biscuits. Get a home-style meal made easy with Lee's 12-piece family meal for only $32.99. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
KTH is now offering a $3,000 sign-on bonus for a limited time and has immediate openings for second and third shift production associates. KTH promotes from within, offers medical, dental, 401k, attendance bonus, and a competitive wage, starting at just over $17 per hour with annual increases. KTH will be hosting walk-in interviews Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. through 3 p.m. or Tuesdays and Thursdays from 7:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. Please bring a resume and photo ID. Visit kth.net. KTH is an equal opportunity employer.
I'm Serena Williams. You watch me live on TV. So why am I in a British drama you watch on demand?
Fancy a dance, with idea?
Sure. It's because DirecTV Stream brings the best of live TV and on demand together.
Oh, you're quite the dancer.
Mr. Jeffries, you're making me blush.
Oh.
Introducing DirecTV Stream, the best of live TV and on demand with no annual contract. Get your TV together at directv.com.
Requires high-speed internet and compatible device. Content varies by package and location. Restrictions apply.
Rise, shine, and dine for just $1.99. Head to Wendy's for a sausage or bacon, egg, and Swiss croissant for just $1.99 during breakfast hours. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's. Limited time only. Price and participation may vary.
The Reds are on the radio. Every hit, every strikeout, every Reds victory. You can catch all of the action all season long right here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
So I just needed a little vent session. That's all. The Cincinnati Reds and David Bell have agreed to a 2-year contract extension. I went on that whole hour-long rant about David Bell and the Reds, but the reality is I'm not saying any other manager can come in and all of a sudden take this roster and win a World Series with it, but I promise you this, if Dusty Baker's the manager of this team, they're not collapsing in September. That I can guarantee you. And that's not an opinion. That's a fact. I mean, if you look at Dusty Baker, all the dude does is win. He wins everywhere. Mm-hmm. I know he's always, he's still pursuing that World Series. I think if there's a manager out there that's still in the game today that deserves one, it's him. No one deserves one more than he does at this point. I am a big Dusty Baker fan. I was a big fan of his back in the day. I know that he made mistakes, but if his mistakes were to the point to where you could still make the playoffs despite his mistakes, I'll take those mistakes any day. Because David Bell's mistakes keeps his teams out of the playoffs. Give me Dusty Baker any day of the week. I will take Dusty Baker over David Bell Monday through Sunday and twice on Sunday, whatever that stupid little saying is. I just want Dusty Baker. I'll take any day. It's frustrating. But I got that. We vented. It's out of the way. Boom. We move on. All right. And again, today, by the way, the Reds and Pirates, that game was postponed to Monday. That's September 27th, and that'll be a 1:10 first pitch this coming up Monday. So keep that in mind. That'll bleed into our show. We may be bumped completely, but we will keep you updated as far as that goes. All right, Kev, I'm going to hit the little NFL music here, and we're going to talk about, kind of where we're at right now, expectations-wise. What are we impressed with, not impressed with here in the National Football League for the Browns and the Bengals at this point. So I find this interesting. Impressed or not impressed is what we're opening up with here in the 4 o'clock hour. Now, I made a mistake the other day, and this is what the caller, the linebacker from Miami of Ohio, who shall remain nameless mainly because I can't remember his name. Oh, John, the former linebacker at Miami of Ohio. Don't know what year. He's a big fan of mine. In fact, he asked for my address. He's going to be sending me some Christmas cards. So there's that. Big fan of mine. He called in all fired up because I said that this Bengals team is the exact same as last year, that there's no difference whatsoever. the context of that conversation was more so my frustration with the offensive line, but he took it literally as there's not one bit of difference in this team from one year to the next, defensively, running game, et cetera, et cetera. We know, yes, 2 games in, run game improved for the Bengals, whatever. 2 games in, defensively, this team looks better. Yes, I know that. But again, how much are you buying into that? That's what I want to talk about. Impressed or not impressed, Kev, that the Cincinnati Bengals are ranked 6th defensively in total yards given up at 300 yards per game heading into week 3. They are 6th, so they have improved.
Yeah.
Impressed or not impressed with the Bengals defense to this point? Again, ranked 6th in total yards given up 2 weeks in.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed by them limiting a lot of teams, because you got to think in week 1 they played a very explosive offense. Now the Minnesota Vikings have found 2 ways to lose 2 games at the buzzer. Week 1 to the Bengals, and then with Dalvin Cook's fumble, and then the kicker missed the go-ahead kick versus the Cardinals that was like a 30-yarder. So they found ways to lose these opening week losses. So, but you look at the offensive weapons that they're slowing down. You're slowing down a Dalvin Cook. You're slowing down a Justin Jefferson. You're slowing down a Adam Thielen. So you're slowing those guys down, and I mean that's not an easy feat. Now you expect to slow down a rookie quarterback in Justin Fields, who took basically half the snaps for the Bears last week. But I am impressed. I mean, they spent a lot of money on defense, so you're kind of getting what you're paying for so far.
Shocker, I know them going this route. I'm not impressed yet. I will be impressed if they can keep it up. But the bottom line is you just made up a lot of really good points, too, about the Bengals just playing the Bears. The Bears are atrocious offensively right now. So I do believe the Bengals have a better defensive layout right now, mainly because they're healthy. Like, they didn't have Reader last year. Reader would have made a huge difference. He was out injured. I can't imagine what Joseph Osai would have brought to the table. I'm a big fan of that kid, and that kid impressed the hell out of me in his one and only series of the whole preseason. And unfortunately, he had that season-ending injury. I like Joseph Osai. I think he would have made a huge difference in the pass rush as well. But the Bears, I'm not going to jump for joy about that. I mean, again, good for you. Look, the Browns, who I like, they let a bad offense in Houston march up and down the field. So I guess I can't sit there and say that I'm not impressed with them shutting down a bad offense, because the Browns should have shut down a bad offense and they didn't. So yes, good for them for doing that. But again, you played Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. I know that they slowed certain individuals down, but you still gave up 351 yards in the air and a pair of touchdowns against Kirk Cousins. And you're going to play a lot of really good quarterbacks moving forward. So I need to see a little bit more. I mean, if you went out and got the guy from Pittsburgh. You went out and got a Woozy. You have Waynes. You have all these guys. You have all of them in place to slow down quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins, and you didn't slow him down. He still picked you apart, and that's with the guys that they have in their secondary. That's with Bates and those guys. So we'll see. You need to see a couple more weeks of that. Are they improved? Yes. So I'll kind of I'm not going to have an aggressive not impressed, but I just need to see a little bit more. Yes, they look improved, but at the same time, you saw what they look like against the Vikings, who will not even be the best offense that they play this year. They did slow down Dalvin Cook. I think you're going to see the Bengals really improve in going up against the run. They stuffed the Bears. Dalvin Cook didn't have his way with the Bengals defense. So I think there's something to be said there, which can be huge, especially against the Steelers coming up this weekend. The Steelers don't have a strong run game. I know they drafted Najee Harris, but the Bengals can really capitalize there, especially without Big Ben Roethlisberger. Be looking for that. They desperately need an improved run defense, especially with having the Browns and the Ravens in that division. So I'm going to say unimpressed, but I'm not going to say it aggressively or disrespectfully. I just need to see a little more. I do think they are on the right track there. That's something semi-nice I can say.
Making waves, Bengals fans.
I'm trying. I'm coming around. We'll stay with the Cincinnati Bengals, Kev. Bengals running back Joe Mixon is currently 2nd in the NFL in total yards rushing heading into week 3. Now, he has 196 yards. Only one running back has more yards total rushing than Joe Mixon 2 weeks into the season. And, of course, that's no slouch. And Derrick Henry.
Of course.
Impressed, not impressed right now with Joe Mixon's performance 2 weeks into the season.
This is tough because
Hater.
Week 1, I was impressed. But week 2, I wasn't. But it's the Bears. People don't run against the Bears. This is like some teams out there, you just say, all right, we're not going to run the ball again. We're not going to run the ball against the Bears. We're not going to be able to run the ball against the Steelers. We're not going to be able to run the ball against Tampa Bay. Probably won't be able to run the ball against the Ravens. Like, those are the teams that you go out there and say, like, we're not going to be able to run the ball on at all. And the Rams. So there's 5 teams out there. So when you look at it, if he had another good game like he did in week 1 versus the Vikings, I would be impressed. Until he is getting big yardage versus those top 5 teams, and you do play the Steelers twice, you do play the Ravens twice, and unless he's getting like 90 to 120 against the Steelers and Ravens, then I'll be impressed, because most teams really, outside of those top 5, really don't stop the run that well. So I'm going to go unimpressed.
I'm unimpressed right now, too, for your exact same reasons. I just like you going first, so that if I repeat what you say, I'm curious if when people hear Kev say exactly what I say, if how they hear it, because I think you make a lot of good points. It's kind of like the Bengals defense. It's the same narrative there. Really, really good. Not so great of a performance against the Vikings in week 1. Really, really good defensive performance in week 2 against the Bears. Now, really good offense they faced in the Vikings in week 1. Not a good deep offense at all in the Bears in week 2. So, how do we, you balance out those numbers? It looks as if the Bengals have improved. Do we need to see a few more games first before I could dive in there? I'm going to say the same thing about Joe Mixon. He ran up and down the field against not a very good run defending Vikings defense, and went up against a very good defense in the Bears and really wasn't very effective. And the reason that's important, Bengals fans, is because the Steelers will stuff you at that defensive line. The Browns will stuff you against the run at the defense. I'm going to talk about that Browns D-line coming up here in a moment. But the one thing they are doing is they are stuffing the run. And, yeah, the Ravens, they'll stuff you too. So if this is your first divisional game, you have 8 games that you're going to be going up against really good defensive lines. And if Joe Mixon only averages 60 to 70 yards a game, I'm not going to be that impressed. And they have some other really good teams that are playing outside of the division too. So I'm not impressed, but I was impressed in week 1. I thought that did open up the offense. Joe Burrow was getting hit a lot. But if we can see Joe Mixon from week 1 moving forward, that's going to take pressure off of Joe Burrow. But I don't think it's a secret as to why Joe Burrow got the snot beat out of him against the Bears. Is because the run game wasn't there, wasn't really effective, and it had to be on Joe Burrow's shoulders, and that was it. In week 1, he didn't get hit as much, and that's because they were able to spread it out a little bit, balance it out more between the run and the pass. That's when the Bengals are going to be most effective, which is why they need that damn offensive line. I've never once said I don't think this team could be effective offensively. I said they're not going to be effective offensively until that O-line is fixed, and it's just not fixed yet. That's the frustrating part, is fans are seeing glimpses of what this offense could be if they give Burrow time to throw. And I guess he's averaging holding onto the ball 3 seconds. Who was the caller earlier that talked about Big Ben? Getting rid of the ball in 2.3 seconds. It doesn't sound like it's that much of a difference between him and the 3.2 seconds that Joe Burrow's holding onto the ball. But there is talks about Joe Burrow holding onto the ball too long, but he's trying to give his receivers time to open up down the field, and he's just not getting that time. All right, it's our impressed, not impressed. That was the Cincinnati Bengals portion. Let's move on to the Cleveland Browns, Kev.
Not impressed.
Cleveland Browns quarterback Baker Mayfield. How about Baker Mayfield, baby? He ranks first in the NFL in completion percentage at 81.6%, and he ranks second in the NFL in yards per attempt at 10.9 yards per attempt. That's actually a very good number, that 10 yards an attempt. I mean, that's every time he passes and completes a pass, it's a first down. So that's pretty damn impressive. Impressed or not impressed with Baker Mayfield to start the season, Kev?
Very impressed. Very impressed. I mean, he only had 2 incompletions on Sunday. One was a throwaway and one was an interception. Like, that was 90%. Completed 90% of your Look, man, somebody go out there and complete 90% of their passes. You go ahead and dip their cleats in gold and send it to the Hall of Fame. Like, if he's out here completing 90% of his passes, I don't care if most of his passes are on rollouts and bootlegs. I don't care. Like, I'm not a person that gets all willy-nilly about stats and everything like that. Are you moving the ball up and down the field, and are you scoring touchdowns? And currently, Baker Mayfield is doing that for his team. And that's what you want your quarterback to do. Convert on third downs because they have an outstanding running game. So you always have to honor the play-action pass. Always. And since he's a shorter quarterback, they rarely have him just like, all right, drop back, stand in the pocket, scan the field, make it read. They 9 times out of 10 have him on the move because he's very mobile and he can hit the tight end on the level route. Those are the routes that he's going to. So when the Browns run the ball, he's going to complete a ton of passes because you stick it in, Chubb's belly or another running back's belly. The linebackers are going to sync up and open up those passing windows. So I'm overall impressed by the way he's playing because, people can say like Stefanski's a great coach, and I think he is a great offensive coach, but you got to have somebody go out there and execute that, because if it was easy, everybody would do it. So I'm impressed.
I'm, of course, impressed, but still concerned. This is why Bengals fans, please pay attention. I'm being real here. For like, you guys think I'm a homer. No, I'm not a homer. When you're good, you're good. When you're bad, you're bad. Baker has not been bad, but I do think that Kevin Stefanski's telling us he's revealing what he thinks about Baker Mayfield. Training wheels are back on. The training wheels were taken. I don't know if it's just being eased into the season or what. Chiefs, not a great defense. Texans certainly as hell don't have a great defense. And Baker Mayfield ranks 28th in pass attempts on the season. Like, if there were ever it's not like the Bears or, a really good defense. It's not like a defense that you would have to really kind of restrict how much opportunities you give him to screw up. I do find it like I said, I'm not freaking out losing sleep, but I see a pattern developing. How you could be 28th in the NFL in passing attempts, that's pretty impressive. With Kevin Stefanski, let's say that the Chiefs had Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, and Stefanski's the coach of the Chiefs. You have Patrick Mahomes. Would you limit how much you let Patrick Mahomes throw? No, you would let Patrick Mahomes throw because it's Patrick Mahomes and he could pass the ball. I have a hard time believing that Stefanski with Kirk Cousins would even only drop him back 20 to 25.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Are you going to counter it with a good point here?
Because when he was the OC with Case Keenum, this is exactly what they did. Mm-hmm. This is his offense.
Yep.
We talk about like the Urban Meyer offense, the Ryan Day offense. This is the Stefanski offense. We're going to run the ball. We're going to play action. Like, this is almost like the Washington football team with the Hogs.
But you don't think, Case Keenum wasn't a gunslinger. Baker, we want to believe is, but like, you don't believe that is a way of restricting or limiting the quarterback's opportunity to screw up? Because I don't believe
this is his third quarterback that he's run his offense with.
But Kirk Cousins was still one of the top, quarterbacks as far as pass attempts. So it's not like he locked up Kirk Cousins. It's like he trusted Kirk Cousins to throw the ball, who I think that the ceiling for Baker could potentially be Kirk Cousins, who throws for a lot of yards and what have you. So I'm not poo-pooing on this. By the way, I'm very impressed. He's first in the NFL in completion percentage. He's completing 81% of his passes. He only had 2 incompletes the other day. That's impressive. His pass attempt, or his yards per attempt is at 10.9 per attempt, but he's 28th in the NFL in passing attempts. That to me screams that Kevin Stefanski is telling us that, hey, we trust Baker in limited doses. My friends say that about me all the time. I love Kenner, but I can't. I can only take him in small doses. All my Florida friends from last week, they say, Kenner, we love you, but we need a break for a while. We'll talk to you probably next year when we go to Florida. So that's Baker Mayfield with the Browns. It's like, hey, we love Baker Mayfield, but we could only handle him in small doses because if we give too much responsibility to him, it could blow up in his face. So again, I am beyond impressed, but also concerned just a tad. I want to see that be opened up a bit, mainly because if you rank 28th in the NFL in pass attempts against the Chiefs average defense and against the Houston freaking Texans defense, that's a little alarming when you haven't even played the Steelers yet. You haven't played the Ravens yet. The Bengals have really good secondary pieces. I will give them that. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Not poo-pooing on it, Browns fans. I'm just being real with you. Don't act like the Bengals fans and get butthurt about it. Just enjoy the nice things I said. How about that? All right, Kev, next up, impressed, not impressed. The Cleveland Browns, they're pass rushers. Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney. They both have a combined 1 sack between them both. The Browns added Jadeveon Clowney to be this dynamic pass rusher alongside Myles Garrett. Now, there was a lot of concern, or at least some doubt amongst the critics, that Jadeveon Clowney is a huge name. His name has always been bigger than his production. And I can't deny that. We can't sit there and say, well, Jadeveon Clowney, we've been waiting to put him alongside someone like Myles Garrett. That's when we'll really see the real Jadeveon Clowney. Well, I'm sorry. Didn't he play in Houston? Didn't he play alongside J.J. Watt?
That's when he was good.
So, again, I know what the expectations are, and I still have high expectations for impressed or not impressed with the Browns pass rush, which was supposed to be the best in football to go alongside that great secondary. And you heard it from me. That was my belief coming in. Again, we're only 2 games in. Impressed or not impressed with the fact that the Browns have 1 sack combined between Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney?
Unimpressed. Unimpressed because, okay, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, week 1. That rebuilt offensive line where they spent a lot of big money and they used draft picks because they realized, like, hey, man, we can't really be going out here with our $500 million quarterback and letting them get destroyed. So they made that trade to get Orlando Brown. They signed Tooney in free agency. They drafted Creed Humphrey. They got another rookie on the offensive line. So they, quote unquote, fixed their offensive line. Okay, it's Patrick Mahomes. He gets rid of the ball quick. He's on the move a ton and everything like that. Fine. You're probably not going to get to him. Then you go up against Tyrod Taylor and the Houston Texans. Now, Tyrod Taylor, he is at the worst luck of any NFL player I've ever seen in my life. He's always getting hurt and giving up his job to somebody else or getting his lung punctured by their own team doctor. But I watched the first half of that game when I was home in Cleveland, and he marched up and down the field. And he's a very elusive guy. Fine. They got a little bit of pressure on him, but he shook somebody out their shoestrings and ran for a touchdown. When you had the rookie in there, Davis Mills from Stanford, that's when you expect those dudes to feast. And I really like what they're doing on the defensive line because they're not lining Clowney up on the other side of him, having him playing right in and, Garrett play left in. They're lining them up right next to each other. It's almost like Clowney's playing a defensive tackle. So now you can't double somebody because he's on the inside. Like, you got to choose. So you're going to definitely free up one guy. So one of them was getting one-on-one block the entire game, and they didn't get to him, a rookie quarterback. So I'm unimpressed. I would say, yes, it's early and all that good cliche words that I always use, but, like, you should have got to the rookie at least twice. Not just them. Everybody else, too. Y'all can rush the quarterback, too. It ain't just on them, too. So that's where I would be like, whoa, wait a minute, dude. Like, we let a rookie just sit there and not get hit. At least hit him. Put him on the ground. Welcome into the NFL.
Yeah, I'm beyond unimpressed, mainly for the fact that, the Chiefs offense, you will not stop the Chiefs offense. That offensive line was built to be able to protect Patrick Mahomes against the likes of a Myles Garrett, a Jadeveon Clowney, and some of the other top pass rushers in the NFL, especially within that division. You look at the meat on that defensive line of the Broncos, and you look at the Raiders, and you look at some of the teams in their own division. That was why they put so much, well, for one, they value their franchise quarterback. That's why the Chiefs are Super Bowl contenders every year, and teams who don't value their quarterback are scratching their head wondering why their quarterback's getting hit so much, not naming names. But the Chiefs looked at the division that they played in, and they look at the AFC as a whole. They looked at everything, and they said, we have to make sure we protect our, investment, our asset, our number one asset in Patrick Mahomes. So they were built to be able to withstand the pressure of Myles Garrett and a Jadeveon Clowney. So I wasn't too concerned about the defense's performance against the Chiefs in week 1. I was concerned after week 2. It's that Bears offensive line is not very good. And how Jadeveon Clowney has the only sack between the two is a little mind-boggling. I'm not saying that Myles Garrett's overrated or not good. He's just not playing well right now, and it's unacceptable. So that's where I'm at with that. Yes, I'm concerned. We're going to see how this team kind of improves as the season goes on. I'm also very unimpressed with the secondary. I talked a lot of smack about that secondary. They have a few interceptions, but right now the only thing of the Browns that looks a mirrored image of last year is their run game, and the offensive line looks as good as it was last year, and the run game looks even better than it was last year. Outside of that, we're seeing them kind of revert back to putting the training wheels on Baker Mayfield. We're not seeing the pass rush be as strong as we had anticipated. Myles Garrett did not have Jadeveon Clowney last year and still wreaked havoc in the backfield. So having Jadeveon Clowney and not wreaking havoc, especially against a team like the Bears, that's not acceptable. It's only 2 weeks in, so I'm not overreacting.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Another rookie quarterback.
Yeah, I've been very unimpressed, I guess, or just not overwhelmed, or not really excited and warm and fuzzy inside when it comes to the Browns' defensive performance. We'll see how that works moving forward. But yeah, 2 weeks in, I'm not overreacting, but I am a little concerned as far as that goes. On Facebook, Kev, Vince Waller says, talking about Baker Mayfield, I don't think it has anything to do with putting training wheels on Baker. The Browns' best way to win is with Chubb and Hunt. Baker is not Mahomes, so that comparison is silly. That's not a comparison there, Vincent. That you're making my point. My point is that as much as I love Baker Mayfield and talk a lot of smack of defending Baker Mayfield, my point is that Kevin Stefanski is saying that, hey, Baker Mayfield is not Patrick Mahomes, that Baker Mayfield's not Kirk Cousins, that Baker Mayfield is not these playmaking quarterbacks in the league. That was my point, Vincent. My point is that although Baker's played really well and played very efficiently, if he was at the level that he could throw the ball the way Patrick Mahomes can, if he would throw the ball the way Aaron Rodgers could or Kirk Cousins could, if Baker Mayfield, if that truly was him, then to me, Kevin Stefanski would not be putting the training wheels on Baker. That was my whole point. That's why I said when I gave those great stats about Baker Mayfield, are we impressed or not impressed? I said I'm impressed, but I'm concerned. I'm concerned because although the stats show that Baker's being efficient, that he's a high completion percentage, his yards per attempt is super high at 10.9 yards per attempt. I love all of that. But I do believe Stefanski's telling us a story through his play calling, and that story is, yeah, we are a run team, but I'm also not very confident that we could drop Baker back and make plays down the field efficiently without turning the ball over. So that was my point is if Stefanski had a Patrick Mahomes or an Aaron Rodgers or even back to Kirk Cousins, if this Browns team, this Browns roster with a different quarterback had a quarterback that Kevin Stefanski believed can sling the ball, which is what Baker's reputation was coming into the league, then I don't believe he would be handicapping those quarterbacks. I don't believe he would be handcuffing Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers or even Kirk Cousins. He didn't handcuff Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. Now, you brought up Case Keenum, Kev. Case Keenum and Baker Mayfield are pretty identical. Now, I love Baker. I think Baker's a very, very good quarterback. Still think he's a top 10 quarterback. But I'm a little concerned with why they are being so stubborn in the training wheels on Baker Mayfield during the early going. All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Concerned or not concerned? That's what we are playing right now, taking a look at the Bengals and the Browns 2 weeks in to the season. Last but not least, Kev, we'll open up the phone lines coming up here in just a moment. Last but not least, Kev, the Raiders, this isn't Browns or Bengals related, but the Raiders, the Broncos, and the Panthers and the Cardinals are all 2-0. Now, the Bucks, the Rams, and the Niners are, but I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. Those are three division contenders, Super Bowl contenders in the 49ers, Rams, and Bucks. But the Raiders are 2-0, the Broncos are 2-0, the Panthers and Cardinals are 2-0. You look at those four teams undefeated just a couple weeks in. Impressed, not impressed? What's your takeaway of those four teams? One more time, the Broncos, the Raiders, the Panthers, and the Cardinals. Impressed, not impressed?
Definitely impressed by the Raiders. They showed a lot of heart on the opening game on Monday night. It looked like the Ravens are just going to demolish them. It was 14-0. I was like, all right, let's find something else to watch on TV because it's about to be a pick six, and that's going to be all she wrote. It didn't end up that way. I ended up staying up until a little bit past the third quarter, found out that the Raiders won in a wacky overtime situation. I was like, okay. And then they come all the way east to the Pittsburgh Steelers, fans back in the stadium, a 1:00 kick, and Derek Carr was out there dropping dimes. Very impressed by the Raiders. Hate to say it. My best friend's a Raiders fan. He gave me that good wink after the game. I almost punched him. So I'm super impressed by them. I'm impressed. I'm not impressed with the Panthers yet. I am a huge McCaffrey fan. Like this dude is unreal. This dude is next level. This dude is like Roger Craig. Like he's a wide receiver, running back. He'll get you 100. He's going to go for 1,000 again. He's unbelievable. I'm really happy to see Donald playing some good football, with a competent organization. But nobody expected Jameis Winston to have another game like he had in week 1. I'm a Jameis guy, but nobody expected him to be out here throwing 5 more touchdowns. So I want to see the Panthers a little bit more. Broncos, I don't want to be a hater, but they only beat the Giants. They beat the Giants. Giants has a good defense. I got Teddy Bridgewater on my fantasy team. I appreciate those points he got me. Just not impressed by that. Who was the other teams? I'm sorry.
So we had the Panthers, we had the Broncos, we had the Raiders, and the Cardinals.
Cardinals. Very impressed by the Cardinals. And I'm glad you brought this up because I've been thinking about this all day long. The Cardinals are really out here running like the spread offense college style. Not like NFL style, like the Kansas City Chiefs. They run a spread like NFL style, but they're literally out here running a college spread offense. You have 2 tall receivers on the outside. DeAndre Hopkins, 6'4". AJ Green, 6'4". But what you have in the slot, they going out here with 4 wide receivers. That's their starting lineup, 4 wide receivers. They're going out there with Rondale Moore, who's 5'9", Christian Kirk, who's also 5'9".
He loves Kirk, by the way. But great chemistry with him.
Yeah, they played together at Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
So you got those 2 guys who run 4-4. You're matched up on safeties and linebackers. Look, man, we know how good that Hopkins is. We know that AJ Green was a heck of a receiver with the Cincinnati Bengals. So you always have to honor them. But what are you going to do with these dudes? Because these aren't your typical slot receivers, because both of them are built like running backs. Like we talk about this with Tyreek Hill. Like, yeah, he's short and fast, but he's thick, he's big, he's strong. These dudes are the same way. Watch out for the Cardinals. Watch out. If he can stay healthy, they're going to be dangerous, man, because this is something we've never seen in the NFL. Like we've seen run and shoot, like with Warren Moon and everything like that, but we have never seen 2 slot receivers this small but this fast. You're going to guard them with linebackers. So you're going to come out here in your dime set. All right, we're just going to hand the ball off because they're running the college offense. They're spreading you out. So you're taking your linebackers off the field. So they're going to give it to the running back. And also, hey, this dude can run too. Super impressed by them, man. I know a lot of people out here don't think that this offense is going to work. If he can stay healthy, watch out for Kyler Murray, man. He might win the MVP, man. He's about to put up some crazy numbers.
So this reminds me, a year ago, we and you had these same arguments about, everyone's talking about Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. Remember the MVP? It ticks me off. I can't stand when I see MVP. You brought up MVP. You opened that door. But no, I can't stand when I'm watching First Take or anything else. And who's the early betting? Who's your early MVP favorite? 2 games in, really? Like
you sound like me.
So I'm not a fan of them. Like last year, everyone Russell Wilson was the MVP a couple games in, and all of a sudden the wheels just came off. I mean, he couldn't stop turning the ball over. But by the way, everything you say about the Cardinals, I mean, they're a fun team to watch. I actually. Once the Bengals, whatever decade it is, they figure out their offensive line, they have a lot of the similar style pieces. Their slot guys aren't as fast as what the Cardinals have, but they have really good slot receivers. I love the Bengals' offensive weapons that they have. That's why I get so ticked off about them not matching it with an offensive line, because Joe Mixon could be used in very similar fashions as well. Joe Mixon has that same style of makeup that they can take advantage of his speed, especially with the ball in the open field, whether they're handing it off or using him in pass game situations. But by the way, AJ Green, 5 receptions, about 70 yards, and the touchdown already. But the tail of the tape for the Cardinals is interesting because DeAndre Hopkins has 3 touchdowns. Him and Rondale Moore. We talked about the chemistry he has with Kirk. Kirk only has 8 receptions on the year, but he has the 3rd most targets. But DeAndre Hopkins and Rondale Moore, 13 targets for Moore. DeAndre Hopkins has 12, but 10 of those 12 targets have resulted in catches for 137 yards and 3 touchdowns, his longest being a 40. So it's a super efficient offense, and they have name guys all over that defense. They're not the sexiest defense, but they got name brand guys there, which on paper it makes you feel pretty good about. The Cardinals are better than people think. I think no one wants to buy into any of these teams in that division, mainly because of the fact that, well, the Cardinals are the worst team in that division. Or are they? Because are they better than the Rams? I don't want to say so yet, but they sure as hell look like it. Are they better than the Niners? I don't think they're an overall better rounded team than the Niners. The Seahawks might be the worst team in that division, and the Seahawks are still really, really good with the MVP caliber quarterback in Russell Wilson. So I love this NFC West division. It's going to be fun until the very end. But that's why the playoffs are so interesting, because we're gonna kind of beat up on these teams and their win-loss records because they're going to beat up on one another. But come playoff time, don't be surprised to see the Cardinals just be that breakout team in the NFC. Good for the coach, too, by the way, because he was on the hot seat.
Big time. Yeah, like you said, it's very early. But I don't know if this is true. If somebody can hit us up, has a division sent all 4 teams to the playoffs before? Is that even possible mathematically?
I'd have to look that up.
I know
we need a hembo.
AFC North, obviously, they sent the Ravens, Steelers, and the Browns to the playoffs last year. I know there's years that the Bengals, Steelers, and Ravens have went before, but I don't know if I don't even know if it's mathematically possible because you do play everybody twice in your own division. But yeah, it's going to be a nail biter, man. It's going to be a nail biter. And you look at San Francisco, you look at that defense, and you look at that run game they got, like they're already hit by the injury bug already out there in San Francisco. So, like, what are you going to do, man? Like, somebody's not going to make it. And early on, all those teams look legit. But somebody's not going to make it. It's like impossible, but it's very entertaining.
All right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Impressed, not impressed. We'll do that periodically throughout the season. But 2 games in, and the Browns and Bengals, there's a lot to be excited about and still a lot to be concerned about. For the Browns, for me, it's the fact that Baker Mayfield ranks 28th in pass attempts on the season. Sure, we could brag about the completion percentage and the yards per attempt. Those are all great, fine and dandy. But just like anything in life, you could always make numbers sing and dance. We could always find the numbers to back our narrative, and then your competitors, they'll find the numbers to prove their point, and we're just going in circles. But there's a lot I love about the Browns right now. They are as advertised, but there are some things that I feel like they're underwhelming in. Their secondary has been underwhelming a little bit. Their pass rush has definitely been underwhelming. That defense I expected major strides in, and I have not seen that 2 weeks in. We'll see what the tail of the tape is a couple weeks from now when we evaluate this again. The Bengals, a lot to be excited about. Again, Jamar Chase, despite all the struggles he had in the preseason, my goodness. To sit there and get mad at anyone who criticized Jamar Chase for dropping catches in the preseason, I think you are soft and you need to stop following sports. If you can't handle your receivers dropping balls and then not being able to handle the criticism, then you're too soft to be a sports fan. Go elsewhere. I don't want to deal with you. Being critical of Jamar Chase for dropping balls in the preseason was warranted. Praising him in the regular season for catching the balls and catching touchdowns, that's warranted too. So we're praising him because he's playing well. That's how it works. It's common sense. Just I hope some of you can catch along eventually. So there you go.
What did you just read to take you over the edge?
Nothing. Lamar Shelley, he's taking little slight digs. It is what it is. But the bottom line is the Bengals, a lot to be excited about there. The Jamar Chase and the Joe Burrow connection too. I think that's going to be a tandem right there to be excited about a lot moving forward. And then Joe Mixon, I wasn't impressed with his game yesterday or on Sunday. I'm sorry. I need to see a little bit more of him. But in his defense, as well as Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon should complement the play of Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow should complement the play of Joe Mixon. But as long as that offensive line is as trash and garbage as it is, those two can't complement one another, because when the run game's not there, that pressure on Joe Burrow to carry the team, it's going to get him killed. And we're seeing that already 2 weeks in. That's the unfortunate part. But I like Joe Mixon, like Jamar Chase. T. Higgins has been fantastic. Joe Burrow, 3 straight interceptions. A lot of that has to do with the fact that he can't even get comfortable in the pocket. That's on the offensive line. That's on the front office as far as that's concerned. But yeah, it is what it is. Excited that the season's moving along. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. 518-1410. 518-1410. Your thoughts on any of those concerns, not concerns, that we just had about your Browns and the Bengals. Browns fans, I know you're used to me praising the Browns, but what do you think about my concerns? I'm concerned that Baker Mayfield is 28th in the league in pass attempts. I don't care about the completion percentage. I don't care about the yards per attempt, because if the completion percentage was, for a much larger sum of attempts, I'd be even more impressed. If the yards per attempt were that number at 10.9 per attempt, if that attempt number was higher, I'd be more impressed. Of course, when you're limiting the amount of dropbacks and throws, you're going to have a higher completion percentage. Good for Stefanski for putting him in position to succeed. But I promise you, if he had a real quarterback and Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers or other guys, they wouldn't be limiting the dropbacks. They wouldn't be running an offense to take the ball out of their star quarterback's hands. And that's what I feel like they're doing with Baker, and they haven't even played 2 good defenses yet. We'll be back in just a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be cloudy and windy with rain, a high near 58. Tonight will also be cloudy and windy with rain, a low near 50. And tomorrow will be cloudy and windy with rain, a high near 60. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Dell's semi-annual sale is the perfect opportunity for a significant business upgrade. Save up to 45% on Dell computers built for business with Windows 10 Pro. Plus, enjoy special pricing on Dell docks, monitors, servers, and more, all with easy financing options through Dell Financial Services. Succeed anywhere with Windows 10 Pro. Speak to a Dell Technologies advisor today to find the right tech for your business with fast, free shipping. Call 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
New surveys show that Americans don't think vaccines are enough to protect themselves and others from COVID-19. 80% want thermometers used in public places to screen for COVID-19. And 36% know that non-contact devices are inaccurate. Use Exergen at home at work, and in public. It's the only thermometer proven accurate by more than 100 published clinical studies. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Exergen is changing the way the world takes temperature.
Attorney Joe Cordell.
New school, new job, new home. Change is hard and can leave you feeling isolated. And divorce delivers one of life's hardest blows. The relationships you counted on are suddenly gone. But you don't have to walk through this alone. For more than 30 years, Cordell & Cordell has guided men through the challenges of divorce. You're not alone. Call Cordell & Cordell.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Dayton area attorneys. 2689 Commons Boulevard, Suite 100, Beaver Creek, Ohio, 45431.
Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland & Summers. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
The soothing scent of Vicks Vapor Rub. It's only one of the most iconic smells ever. That cooling, comforting scent generations of families have come to trust to help them feel better. And now you trust to soothe your family. Pick up some Vicks Vapor Rub in the little blue jar and wrap yourself with the calm only Vicks Vapor Rub can bring. Vicks Vapor Rub, always there for you.
Hey, welcome to Everything Outdoors. Can I help you find anything?
Hey, yeah. Can you point us to the camping gear?
Sure, aisle 2.
Snowboarding? Just bought a new Nissan Pathfinder. It's got intelligent 4x4, and we want to hit the backcountry.
Aisle 18.
And the boats?
Are you sure you can do all this?
Up to 6,000 pounds towing, we're good to go. Oh, where's the scuba gear?
Return to rugged in the all-new 2022 Nissan Pathfinder. Available intelligent 4x4 cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions. Towing capability varies by configuration. See Nissan Owner's Manual for proper use.
Hi, John Glazer here for Glazer Soft Water. We've been making water great since 1988, and no matter what your water issues, we have solutions. Your city water can be clear, but still be hard and have the taste and odor of chlorine. Well water can look, smell, and taste terrible. Glazer Soft Water will fix your water and will even include a 7-year parts and labor warranty so you don't have to worry. Visit our website to learn more at glazersoftwater.com. Glazer Water really is better water.
Call William Brockman & Sons Heating and Air Conditioning at 937-222-8638 for reliable Lennox products that can make the air in your home absolutely perfect. Ohio license number 14911.
NFL fans, the season is finally here. Get your picks submitted at wingam.com. Click on contest and enter the Pro Football Challenge. Weekly winners will win $20 in Frickers Fun Bucks. Get to wingam.com and get your NFL picks submitted now.
Touchdown! Incredible!
Good luck. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Fire Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, we welcome you back. Justin Kinner with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Phone lines are down at the current moment. We'll get those addressed and fixed coming up for you here in just a few moments. Again, breaking news from earlier today, the Cincinnati Reds and David Bell have agreed to a 2-year contract extension. We spent a lot of time in that first hour talking about the fact that, hey, that's not a great thing. That's not a great thing. Like, not a fan of that extension at all for the Cincinnati Reds and David Bell moving forward, mainly because of the fact that I don't think he's done enough to warrant the extension. But I get that the contract's up. The Reds had to make a decision. I'm torn because I don't think David Bell's bad enough that you need to fire him, but I definitely don't think he was good enough to give the extension. But they were kind of at that fork in the road of what do you do? Because moving on from David Bell would mean going out to get another manager, and I think that I thought that they had really good candidates last time. I don't think David Bell's a bad manager. I do believe, well, hold on. That's not true. I think he has performed badly as manager. When Schlemmer and I talked to David Bell when he was first hired, we talked a lot about the use of analytics and how much of that was going to play a role in his game plan as manager of the Reds. Of course, he told us that, of course, there's definitely a role for analytics in baseball, but he's a baseball guy, and he was going to use his gut on a lot of decision-making. And, well, 3 years in, and Schlemmer and I are still waiting for that to be the case. You know, that was him saying that, not us making that up. Like, he kind of scoffed at the analytical thing, but I do believe it is being forced upon not just David Bell, but managers across Major League Baseball. But the bottom line is you can't hire baseball managers anymore for their guts. You can't hire them based on their baseball acumen. You can't say, well, he knows baseball. Well, usually everybody, even the worst managers in baseball, know baseball. All right, I always say that, the worst player in the NBA is still one of the best players in the country. One of the worst coaches in the NBA still knows more about basketball than all of us combined. So I don't like that approach, but I do believe that there is something that is keeping David Bell from being effective as manager of the Reds when it comes to the analytical approach that's being forced upon him. So if David Bell is a good manager and he knows the game and he could play and manage the game at a high level, but you are not letting him use his baseball acumen, you're not letting him use his strengths as a former player and being around the game his entire life. If you are taking that out of his hands and forcing him to do something that is not who he is, then of course he's not going to be effective. That's my frustration with a lot of people who are blaming the front office. You're blaming the front office for all the wrong reasons. You're not blaming the front office for forcing analytics upon David Bell. You're blaming the front office for not putting together a good roster, which cannot be further from the truth. I don't think it's a great roster. I don't think it's a World Series roster, but it's a playoff roster. You have multiple MVP candidates on that roster. How is that not a playoff roster? Joey Votto's played at an MVP caliber level. Same thing with Jesse Winker when he's healthy. Same thing with Nick Castellanos. All right, I don't want to hear that this team, you have a potential Rookie of the Year who should be the favorite in the lock to win Rookie of the Year in Jonathan India. I have a hard time buying into the fact that you guys truly believe that the front office is to blame for the struggles of the Reds. The front office put together a playoff roster. It was David Bell's job to cook the meal with the ingredients provided. Did he have all the best ingredients? No, but he had a lot of your main core ingredients to make a beautiful meal, and he screwed it all up. So that's why I'm back and forth. I didn't want them to extend him, but when you ask me what I think the Reds should have done, I don't think there's an answer there either, because I don't know if there's a manager out there that can come in and use the analytical approach that's being forced upon them and win with this roster. I don't like that you take your best players out of the game in the fourth inning for a matchup in the fifth and then don't have your best players available for crucial late game situations. We see it time in and time out again. It's annoying. I can't take it. People say, well, if the game's not for you, move on. Don't sit there and complain and make it horrible for everybody else. But the problem is that you're losing fans. You are losing. To sit there and say that the old school way means nothing, I have a hard time with that. I have a hard time when people say, well, the way the game's played today, that's all that matters. And if you are an old school mind, then we don't want you. Well, that's a problem, because you don't have a big base of fans anymore like you used to. So to sit there and tell the remaining fans you have that, hey, the game that you grew up loving, it's not for you anymore, we don't want you, I think that's a problem. And then the fans you're trying to attract, you're using mathematical equations to try to lure non-baseball fans into the game. As a fan, if I have to sit down and get my calculator out to try to understand what the hell they're saying, if I have to take if I have to take some kind of chemistry, advanced math class in college just to be a baseball fan, no thank you. Basketball, I could sit down as a non-basketball fan, Kev. All right, what's the point of this game? Okay, put the ball in the hole. Okay, how do you know who's the best player? The player that has the most points. Oh, okay, that's pretty damn simple. Oh, so he shot it from that line right there. What's that mean? Well, when he makes a shot from there, it's a 3-point shot, so it's 3 points. And if he misses it, he gets nothing, right? Yep, okay, it's pretty damn simple. So if they score in that area inside the 3-point line, that's 2 points, right? Okay, free throw line's 1. That's simple. Dumb people can understand basketball. The stupidest of stupid can tune into a basketball game and understand it. Football, at times more complicated, but the concept's the same. Put the ball in the hands of a guy that can get in the end zone, it's a touchdown. If you kick the ball through the uprights, it's a field goal, it's 3 points. If you tackle the guy in the end zone, it's a safety, it's 2. It's fairly simple. You have 4 tries to get to that yellow line on the screen. Right? Talk to me. It's like that scene in The Office. All right, explain it to me like I'm 5. That's, honest to God, how every sport should approach their product. We need to talk. You're only as fast as your slowest runner, and you need to be talking to your slowest runner in that relay race, because I don't care if you have thousands of people that understand the advanced analytics. It's the thousands of people that don't understand it that tune your game out because of that. And honestly, the people that understand the advanced analytics, I'm pretty sure you could be a fan of the game at the simplest of levels, to where you're expecting the most simplest of people to be a fan of the game at the highest of levels, and it's not going to work. David Bell is a casualty of the new era of baseball. So I do feel bad at times when I'm so critical and hard on David Bell, because I believe it's either do it my way, and it's just like all of our jobs in life, right? It's do it my way or you're done. even if like you're going to restrict the strengths of individual workers to do it the boss's way, do it or don't be employed. David Bell was either do it the analytical way or you won't be the manager of the Reds. And I believe that's why Joe Girardi is not the manager of the Reds today, because Girardi was a finalist to get that job, a World Series manager, a former manager of the year. He was in the running to be the Reds manager. And depending on who you talk to, and various people I've talked to said that Girardi was the favorite to get it. They were willing to pay him, but Girardi was not willing to give up or relinquish power, decision-making power based on what the iPad tells him to do. David Bell had never been a manager in baseball before. His name had been brought up on multiple occasions to lead teams. And you know what? He's a yes man. We were all there. I remember coming out of college. I remember when I got hired here. I didn't ask my bosses about the money. I was stupid. I didn't ask about money. I didn't ask about benefits. I was just a hungry college kid coming out saying, wait, I get to talk sports from 3 to 6 every day, and you're stupid enough to hire someone like me? Sure. I regret that now, but at the time it was like, but that's David Bell. David Bell did not think about the repercussions of taking a job that you were going to be forced to manage the game a certain way to the extent that it's going to cost you a job and no one may ever touch you again. Like, that's the problem I have. Brian Price, no one will ever touch him as a manager again because he was foolish enough to take a job as a rebuild was starting. And now everyone thinks he's just a loser manager. Even though he took over a horrible rebuilding roster, everyone thinks, oh, see, they lost when he was the manager. They lost because they were rebuilding. I have no clue why first-year managers will ever, and that's the same thing for coaches in the NBA and NFL, why you would ever accept a first-year coaching gig in the NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, why you would ever accept a first-year coaching job for a rebuilding franchise is beyond me, because you will be the one that they look at and say, we lost because of you. And then all the hard work and the suffering and pain that you went through during the losing years, they'll move on from you, and then they're going to bring in somebody that's going to get to enjoy the fruits of the labor that you put in. It happens every time. Mark Jackson in Golden State. You know, they were winning. They weren't winning just quite enough. He was coach of the year. They move on. They bring in Steve Kerr, and then guess what? They get Kevin Durant. They win. Well, actually, they won a championship before Kevin Durant. But Steve Kerr was able to benefit from the hard work that Mark Jackson put into the Golden State Warriors. We see it every single time. Kevin Stefanski is benefiting from all the hard work and suffering and pain that Hugh Jackson put in, right? So, and that's why I'm frustrated with David Bell, because David Bell was in a situation that he should have, all the losing and pain and suffering, that was supposed to be done. Brian Price took care of that. He was a part of the rebuild. He led the embarrassingly bad rosters. He was a part of the debuts of Michael Lorenzen and Amir Garrett as starters. Remember that Sonny Gray? Or not Sonny Gray. Oh, damn it, the lefty. He wore the goggles. It's driving me nuts. I was a big fan of his, too. It's driving me nuts. Cody, doesn't matter. Point is, they had these 3 great prospects coming up, and they were all brought up as starters. And the bottom line is it didn't work out. He had to go through all the bumps and the bruises and the pain. They had Jason Marquis. Remember they brought Marquis back? He had no business being in Major League Baseball. He was their ace one year. He didn't even last until the end of May. Brian Price took care of all the losing. David Bell was supposed to come in to be the Steve Kerr, and that didn't happen. And that's on David Bell. If you can't even win after the rebuild, that's on you. And the pieces were there. I'm a little surprised they gave him that 2-year extension, to be quite honest with you. Kev, I hogged all the time. You don't get to talk this segment because
it's all good.
I'm mean, but we're going to go to the top of the 5 o'clock hour, and I might let you talk then. I don't know. It depends. But I got to stick to the clock. I'm on a roll for once. Debbie might, put in a good word for me. You never know. We'll be back, folks. Hour 3 coming up next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzz driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I'm more resourceful than I thought.
My suit can still make an impression.
My video games are still game changers.
And my lamp can bring others a bright future.
Because when I donate my stuff to Goodwill,
it helps fund job placement and training for people right in my community.
Now my stuff gets a second chance.
And will give someone in my community
a second chance too.
Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. That's goodwill.org. This message brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Want free Reds tickets? How about a free MLB Network Reds bag? Maybe a Reds bobblehead? Here's an idea. How about we combine them all together and give you a chance to win a free WING Reds prize pack presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Register daily at wingam.com.
Congratulations, Keith, as an Ohio State fan. Miami Dolphin fan doesn't get much better. Well deserved, you know what I mean?
Thank you.
But this is a Heisman Trophy run by Keith Byers.
I want to congratulate Mr. Byers on his nod to the Hall of Fame for college football.
He's running without a shoe with a touchdown.
Keith, man, you're awesome, dude. Represent the Gym City, man. I love it.
Congratulations to Dayton's own Keith Byers, the 26th Buckeye to be selected to the College Football Hall of Fame.
Truly an honor and a blessing and a privilege, you know, to be one of the ones that go into the Hall of Fame. And I've never been selfish to think it's all about me. No, it's about us. And the city of Dayton, Ohio has been very, 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 good to me.
WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you going to miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
ESPN's Heather Dinich, Kev, says that the College Football Playoff Board will not vote next week on the proposed 12-team format as scheduled. The College Football Playoff Board of Managers, which has the authority to change the playoff, will not vote next week on the proposed 12-team format, according to Bill Hancock, the executive director of the College Football Playoff. The Board of Managers, which is comprised of 11 presidents and chancellors, instead will have a video conference rather than an in-person gathering with the commissioners as planned. I threw this theory out about a month or two ago that I don't believe there was ever any intention, Kev, of this happening. I'm not saying it won't happen. I just don't think it'll be 12. And have you noticed how much that's cooled down? The talks of that have cooled down. Like, I don't believe that's the direction they're going in. I'm just curious, like, how much of the talks of all of that was used as a distraction for what was going on with the SEC and Texas and Oklahoma. And people could scoff at that all you want, but that was a huge shift in the direction of college athletics. That wasn't just a big SEC news. That wasn't just big SEC news. That wasn't just big Big 12 news. That has totally shifted the direction of all of college athletics, not just for football, but for basketball, baseball, the Olympic sports, and everything. Like, you had name, image, and likeness in there. I do believe that the college football playoff expansion talk was done for one reason and one reason only, and that was just to distract us. Here, little doggy. Here, doggy. Here, pay attention. Pay attention. My dog, by the way, can't give the dog medicine. She will not, like, if you go to clip her toenails, anything you got to do, I got to put this little rubber pad on the wall with peanut butter on it so that the dog's distracted. So we can cut the dog's toenails and make sure she gets her medicine, all that stupid stuff. The dog's dumb as hell. But you have to distract it. And that's what I feel like we as football fans, we're licking the peanut butter pad while they're taking care of what they need to back here. And then they'll take the peanut butter pad away and say, okay, you can go carry on as usual. That's what college football did to us. I believe it was all just, I don't think that's going to happen. That's why you're supposed to meet in person for this. They're not even not meeting in person because of COVID. They're just saying, well, video conference, we'll just talk about it. Yeah, there's no urgency here.
They can pack stadiums full of 100,000 people, but they can't meet in
we're
person.
about COVID. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like I'm not 100% sure or sold that that's the reason, but you bring up a lot of valid points. I can't say anything against it. It wouldn't surprise me if that's what it was, because it sure seems fishy to me. It sure seems fishy to a lot of other people out there that they got all this talk going, and then like, boom, Texas, Oklahoma, SEC. Sorry, no 12-team playoff. Sorry that we got your hopes up out there, the non-Power 5 schools.
And real quick, I don't know if it was about fans. I think it was about media. Well, the media, like, I'm going to rephrase it. I don't think they were trying to send us on a wild goose chase. I think it was about media. Because the media went bonkers about this 12-team college football playoff.
All did.
But I think that we weren't going to find out about it unless the media found out about it.
Right, yeah.
So that's what I mean by, I think that they did that to get the media on a trail over here so they could dot the I's and cross the T's, or as I always say, they could dot the T's and cross the I's to get all that done over here. And then once that news is revealed about Texas and Oklahoma, then it's like, oh yeah, have you noticed we don't talk about it anymore now? Yeah, that's all I mean. Like, I think it was to keep the media busy. There was always a chance of it getting out, but my God, how did it not get out over the last year? That was not Texas and Oklahoma, their decision makers didn't just wake up one day and say, hey, what are you guys doing later? You guys want to hang out in the SEC for a bit? No, that was months and months and months of planning and talking and negotiating behind the scenes. And I just feel like this news today about them canceling next week's meeting, they're just going to video conference it in. To me, you don't video conference something as huge and big and important and as a money-making opportunity as a 12-team playoff. They're not. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think eventually it will down the road, but they made it sound months ago like, no, it might be next year. Right. 22, 12-team playoff, baby. Now it's like, we'll meet when we meet. Not a big deal. I think it was done strategically, and I think we were all bamboozled.
I know there's a lot of pushback from Gene Smith, and I don't know the athletic director's name at Penn State, but they were like on the same page saying like, look, okay, once the Oklahoma, Texas news came out about the SEC, they were frontline like, hey, we need to definitely revisit this whole situation about a 12-team playoff. We need to get the structure and the new layout of the land of college football before we talk about expanding, because this is all too much too soon. Yep. Like, too much is going on right now to say like, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and we're going to do this. Like, let's get this new way that we're going to be operating with Texas and Oklahoma and the SEC before we expand. And
I just don't get why that has anything to do with the other. Like, Texas and Oklahoma being in the SEC, it doesn't have an impact in Ohio State in regards to how they can function in a world with a 12-team playoff. Like, what do you mean by that?
In their function, but it's like the new landscape of things. Like, okay, is this how we're going to be? Is this how we're going to be taking anchor teams from conferences to build up our own? Or are we going to do the alliance thing that they came up with? Like, they just kind of like, hey, man, let's take a step back and let's see what happens. Let's take a deep breath before we say like, all right, in 2022, Texas, Oklahoma, and the SEC and the expanded college football playoff. I think for a lot of people out there, especially traditionalists, that would be a lot for them to handle. And let's be quite frank, a lot of those traditionalists are older people that are already in those established conferences. So I think those guys hold a lot of weight. But I can't hold anything against you. What you said about it was a distraction or a potential distraction to, get everything with Texas and Oklahoma squared away. And then we'll get to the 12-team playoff when we get to it. We got what we really wanted.
So then that brings the other conspiracy theory side to this thing when you talk about, well, why would the college football playoff committee or head of the college football playoff decide that we need to throw out fake news or maybe send out big, because again, they could have said 16 playoff. They went 12. Like you go from 4 to 12. That's 3 times. Like that was what shocked the world, the sports world about that conversation there. But what would the college football playoff benefit from releasing a fake trail, I guess, to send them down? What are they benefiting from this? So this is why people are so fired up, and that's why the alliance was formed in regards to, there's some fishy going on. This benefits the playoff. It benefits ESPN. It benefits a lot. I mean, that's why ESPN was getting cease and desist orders. Yeah. I mean, it was a mess. It got ugly for a little bit. It seems like, cooler heads have prevailed. I still think there's upset parties, and rightfully so. But overall, I'm still trying to figure out, when you connect the dots of a conspiracy theory, the one dot I have not been able to connect, the 2 dots I've not been able to connect is, I believe it was done to send the media off on a wild goose chase. But the question is why? Why would the playoff do that? Why would the playoff committee do that, I guess, is my big question. But clearly there's something going on there.
So, like you said, so nobody else will find out, because if an Oklahoma State would have found out that, their partner in crime, Oklahoma, was leaving them, there's a lot of other counties out there in Oklahoma who have voting power, and they've made a stink already. Like
Texas and Oklahoma would not want that news to get out.
Right.
The SEC doesn't want that news to get out. So that's why I'm asking. Like, I can get why those teams and programs and conferences would try to find reasons to distract the media, but why would the playoff committee come up with the scheme to distract the media? Like, that's what I mean by, so everything you said is valid. Like, of course you want the media to be distracted, because how it got to the point to where it was finalized without anybody finding out in today's day and age is beyond me. But the playoff had to play a role in that, and putting out that fake news or whatever you want. I hate using that phrase, especially with everything going on. But why would they put out that fake story, I guess, to send the media on a wild goose chase? What do the playoff, what does the playoff benefit from sending the media out on a wild goose chase? I get why Texas would do it. I get why Oklahoma would do it. I get why the SEC would do it. What I don't get, and even the Big 12, if they had inkling of this, which it doesn't sound like they did, I get why all 4 of those parties would. What I still can't comprehend or understand is, why would the playoff send out that fake direction, I guess, or at least not being as serious about it as what we thought at one point.
They're out there running the triple option like Fairmont. You don't know where the ball is.
That is true. They got their first loss of the season last Friday, by the way. Springboro, 2 minutes to go, touchdown, 25-yard passing touchdown to win the game. So there you go.
My high school's undefeated. Home of the Tigers, 5-0. Let's go.
That's all that matters.
Facts.
By the way, that pitcher I was thinking of earlier was Cody Reed for the Reds. I remember when Cody Reed was called up, he was a starter. Garrett was called up as a starter. Lorenzen was a starter. That was the rotation. You had 3 rookie pitchers in the rotation for Brian Price. So that's why I said, hey, Brian Price, David Bell gets he gets a seasoned Demir Garrett, a seasoned Michael Lorenzen. They did try Cody Reed, but he got the finished products of those guys, to where Brian Price was expected to win with the rookies. No, he was the Hugh Jackson. He had to go through all the losing to set up the opportunity for Stefanski to come in and win. David Bell was the Kevin Stefanski here, but he's clearly no Kevin Stefanski in baseball terms, that's for sure. All right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. We'll step away for a few moments. I thought that news and note was interesting regarding the college football playoff. The committee not going to meet next week in person as planned. They'll just do a little light gathering through a conference call, and there you go. We'll talk about Gem City Jam coming up around the corner, by the way. Wright State and UD, they've teamed up for something. It's an NIL deal, a joint NIL deal between 3 players from the Flyers, 3 players from the Raiders. But shots were fired I was so mad when this came out when I was on vacation. Grant Basile is my favorite Wright State player right now, because he went on enemy territory. He went into enemy territory and called out the Flyers, baby. He said, "We want you. Come get it." Shots were fired, and this time not from boobs like me or boobs like you or the fans or whoever. The actual players are now involved in this.
I love it.
Grant Basile, Raiders center, actually went into enemy territory with a sign calling out the Dayton Flyers at a local volleyball game about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. I wasn't here to do the show to bring light to it, but, better late than never, I guess. We'll be back in just a moment. Maybe a 30 for 30 might be in order. You never know.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be cloudy and windy with rain, a high near 58. Tonight will also be cloudy and windy with rain, a low near 50. And tomorrow will be cloudy and windy with rain, a high near 60. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane, making buying propane easy since 1952, offering budget billing and pre-buy options. Find out more at culletpropane.com.
I'm with Dr. Sharon Parsons, past president of the Ohio Dental Association. Soft teeth run in my family, so going to the dentist won't help, right?
Actually, your family history does not necessarily determine whether you'll get cavities or develop gum disease. Your own behavior can prevent dental disease. By regularly seeing a dentist and brushing twice a day, flossing once a day, and avoiding tobacco products and sugary foods and drinks, you can put yourself on the right path to having healthy teeth and gums for a lifetime.
ODA member dentists are located throughout the state, are dedicated to providing the highest quality care, are bound by the highest ethical standards, and obtain superior ongoing education and training. On your next visit, ask if your dentist is a member of the Ohio Dental Association and American Dental Association, so you know you're being treated by the best. To find an ODA dentist in your area, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
Hi, this is Eddie Sorrell, Service Manager, Germain Honda of Beaver Creek. When you need service, we're here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays from 6 to 8 and Saturdays from 7 to 5. We proudly offer a state-of-the-art facility with factory-trained technicians, clean waiting room, and service department. Loaner cars are available during service and free alignment checks with any service. Be sure to stop in and ask for our $39.95 oil change special. Germain Honda of Beaver Creek, State Route 35, east of 675, between Xenia and Beaver Creek.
Oh, according to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. That means that 82% of you listening right now will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. If you're hiring, 82% of you will recall that ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster and easier. And 82% of you will note that you can try ZipRecruiter for free today. But you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/find. 82% of you will keep in mind that ZipRecruiter's technology finds qualified people for your job and actively invites them to apply.
Scott, is that you? Who are you talking to?
82% of you will also know that I live with my mom. But the most important thing to note is that ZipRecruiter works. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Will you be part of the 82% who remember where you can try ZipRecruiter for free? It's ZipRecruiter.com/find. Again, that exclusive link is ZipRecruiter.com/find. That's ZipRecruiter.com/find.
Panera believes in saying yes to things like the new sausage and pepperoni flatbread. Get free delivery when you order on the app through September 14th. Panera, live your yes. Restrictions apply.
O'Reilly. Ready for an oil change? Visit the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts to get everything you need. Right now, get 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil for just $28.95 and earn double O rewards points with your purchase. Protect your engine against sludge and wear with Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil. On sale now at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Hey, welcome to Everything Outdoors. Can I help you find anything?
Hey, yeah. Can you point us to the camping gear?
Sure, aisle 2.
Snowboarding? Just bought a new Nissan Pathfinder. It's got intelligent 4x4, and we want to hit the backcountry.
Aisle 18.
And the boats?
Are you sure you can do all this?
Up to 6,000 pounds towing, we're good to go. Oh, where's the scuba gear?
Return to rugged in the all-new 2022 Nissan Pathfinder. Available intelligent 4x4 cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions. Towing capability varies by configuration. See Nissan Owner's Manual for proper use.
Wake up to Wendy's and get a bacon or sausage, egg, and Swiss breakfast croissant for just $1.99. Made with fresh cracked eggs and served on a hot buttery croissant that's fluffy enough to sleep on. It's time to wakey. Hit the Wendy's drive-thru and get your bacon or sausage, egg, and Swiss breakfast croissant for just $1.99. That's a better breakfast for just $1.99. Only at Wendy's. We got you.
Limited time only. U.S. price and participation may vary. Third-party delivery prices may vary. Not following the combo.
NFL fans, the season is finally here. Get your picks submitted at wingam.com. Click on contest and enter the Pro Football Challenge. Weekly winners will win $20 in Frickers Fun Bucks. Get to wingam.com and get your NFL picks submitted now.
Touchdown! Incredible!
Good luck.
So we will officially get to see the debut of Justin Fields. I know we got to see Justin Fields against the Bengals last week, but the debut of Justin Fields as a starter, former Buckeye quarterback in the National Football League. Chicago Bears rookie quarterback Justin Fields will make his first career start Sunday as Andy Dalton is expected to be out with a left knee injury. Coach Matt Nagy told reporters on Wednesday. Coach Nagy says that it's a great opportunity for Justin and for all of us as a staff to be able to make this thing and see where he goes with this. Nagy said of Fields' first starting opportunity. Now, Nick Foles, who of course was brought in to be, a very expensive backup, by the way. Still, enjoying the fruits of that contract from the Jags a few years ago. So good for him. That's what you get when you get a Super Bowl MVP.
Yes, sir.
But Nick Foles will serve as Fields' backup. So Foles on the depth chart, it was, of course, Andy Dalton, Nick Foles, Justin Fields. Now Justin Fields leaps, Foles, and he's now the backup or the starter or what have you. I honestly do believe that Nagy was doing, I kind of respected what he was doing to a certain extent. He was sticking to his guns. I don't care about the noise. I don't care about the criticism. I'm going to continue to start Andy Dalton, a veteran quarterback, because I believe he gives us the best opportunity to win. I'm amazed at how many people have gone at Coach. Like I wasn't a fan of it too. I believe when you draft a rookie quarterback, you get 4 years to win with that individual. You get 4 years with that individual on a rookie contract that expands the resources financially that you have to go out and to create a winner right away. I will never understand the teams that take baby steps with rookie quarterbacks in regards to not just their development, but the team development. The Jaguars had $70 million in cap space. They knew they were going to get Trevor Lawrence, with still a month and a half remaining in the season last year. You had $70 million in cap space. You bring in Urban Meyer. You know you're going to get Trevor Lawrence, and how he has such a bad offensive line is beyond me. You had money to buy one. You had a whole draft to draft one, and instead you used a first-round pick on Travis Etienne. The Jaguars are just as dumb as their handling of Trevor Lawrence as the Bengals have been with Joe Burrow. They're doing this whole, we got to rebuild. We got to be slow. No, there is no slow in football when it comes to rebuilding. We've seen a lot of worst of, not so much first, but worst to playoffs appearances quite often. In fact, the Jaguars years ago, I remember they drafted Leonard Fournette. They had that high extra the year Joe Mixon was drafted. There was a lot of talk that year if Joe Mixon didn't have a lot of the off-the-field issues that he did, that he most likely would have been the first running back taken off the board. But the Jags selected Leonard Fournette that year in the draft. They were a 3-win team the year before. They were a 13-win team the year after. They spent a lot of money in free agency. They drafted well, and they were a quarter away from beating Tom Brady and the Patriots in the AFC title game and almost got to a dang Super Bowl. It was unbelievable. We see teams go from worst to first all the time and to be true contenders. And I believe that the Jaguars dropped the ball on that. I don't agree with the Jaguars, who had $70 million in cap space, taking their time with Trevor Lawrence. Especially, it was important to get Urban Meyer off to a good start as well. There was a lot of factors working against the Jaguars. I don't like how they handled that. The Chicago Bears doing this whole, we need to start our veteran quarterback and be patient with the development of Justin Fields. That's not how the game operates anymore. You draft your rookie quarterback, you throw him out there, and he learns as he goes. I heard Jeff Saturday and some others bring up some good points on their shows today, talking about how the reason it's so important for Justin Fields to be getting the starting reps, not just due to injury to Andy Dalton, but from the start, was because Justin Fields isn't learning sitting on the sideline. I know we hear that saying all the time and we roll our eyes at it, but he broke it down into examples of what we mean by that is you're not learning. You may be learning the game by sitting back and watching, but there's a lot to be said about reps within practice. You're not getting a lot of reps in practice as the backup. You're not getting those first team reps. You're not part of the game plan. You're not part of the mapping out of the first 3 or 4 series of the game. You're not getting those red zone reps. You're not getting those situational reps that are so crucial in the development of quarterbacks, rookies, and seasoned veterans at that. So Justin Fields, although has been sitting the last couple of weeks behind Dalton, did get time against the Bengals last week in their win against Cincinnati. He didn't look the best, mainly because he's just thrown out to the Wolves. Like, Nick Foles is a veteran backup quarterback. You can throw him into the Wolves. He's familiar with a lot of NFL packages. You can kind of drop him in there and pick up where he left off the last time. Fields is a rookie backup quarterback. I always viewed it as you sit your rookie so that they can learn on the sideline. But Jeff Saturday said the worst thing you could do to a rookie is make him a backup because they're not getting the situational reps throughout the week that veteran quarterbacks as backups don't necessarily need. Like Teddy Bridgewater, I know he's a starter now, but he could be a backup in the league because he knows the game. He knows the league. He's played. It's not going to be foreign territory to him when he does get thrown out there, either as a starter or a backup. But rookies, they don't know the game at all. Their best chance of learning the game is to learn the game from a preparation standpoint from week one or from day one on a Monday all the way to build up a kickoff on Sunday. So you're going to see, I don't know how good of a start you're going to see from Justin Fields against the Browns on Sunday, being named the starter midweek. But I think you're going to see him get better and better each week, not based on his time in the game on Sundays, but from his time in practice throughout the week. I'm actually excited for him. I'm not pulling for him this weekend, but I'll be a big Justin Fields fan after week 3.
For me, it goes back to the draft, and this was the place I didn't want Justin Fields to go. I'm rooting for him. He's a Buckeye, for goodness sake. But when you go to a team like Chicago Bears, who haven't had a quarterback, like a real good quarterback, I think, in my lifetime. I know people that go back to like McMahon, the headband. That was like in the 80s. Rex Grossman. I can't think of anybody else.
Yeah, they're one of the few franchises that have never had a franchise quarterback and have been to multiple Super Bowls.
Right.
So good for them for doing that, but that's not the blueprint.
They always got defense.
It's
crazy.
Yeah, it's not the blueprint, that's for sure.
So for me, I just think that, Nagy is like one of those guys that potentially is on a hot seat. They hired Nagy to fix Mitchell Trubisky. They weren't winning games the way he deemed them should be winning ways. When they let Mitchell Trubisky be a mobile quarterback and having him on the move, they won 10 games. Then they went back to the way he wanted him to play back football. And then they started losing games. And then they benched him, put in Nick Foles. And then they put Mitchell Trubisky back in the game and had him playing mobile quarterback. And they won games and went to the playoffs. This goes back to the coaches wanting a player to play the way they want them to play, as opposed to playing how the player plays best.
So that's what I was asking about the Browns earlier. Like, I don't disagree with that take at all. But my point about the Browns earlier was, is this an example of square peg round hole where Stefanski's forcing Baker to play a watered down version at quarterback so that they can focus on the run? That's the history of his play calling. Or is he sticking to that watered down play calling because he doesn't trust dropping Baker Mayfield by more? Who's restricting who? Is Baker restricting the offensive play calling of Stefanski, or is Stefanski restricting the playmaking ability of Baker? We saw Baker have some of those big blowout games last year. The Ravens couldn't stop Baker. Baker marched that ball up and down the field. They couldn't stop him. So that was my big question earlier. It's a great point about Nagy's use of I just lost his name, the North Carolina quarterback. Trubisky. It's that type of situation right there. Who's restricting who?
Right.
Is Baker restricting Stefanski, or Stefanski restricting him? But carry on with your point.
Yeah, I just think that you got that situation. Then you have the GM who's drafted. This is the second quarterback he's drafted in the first round for the Bears. So I think that him and the coach, Nagy, are hooked together. But like, what happens when the ownership says, you know what, I had enough of you guys. Both of you guys are out of here this year, next year. Then they hire a new coach. New coach is going to be like, either like, no, I want to get my own quarterback. And then Fields is left in the win. You know what I'm saying? So like, that was the reason I didn't want him going there. As far as the starting the quarterback, the rookie quarterback off the rip, man, I just look at the Jets, and I look what they did to Sam Darnold. And we're looking what's going on right now with Babyface. I can't remember his name. What's Babyface's name? Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson, yep.
So we're seeing him. Now, granted, he did just go up against the Patriots. We all know that Belichick was going to get him. He got him 4 times, for goodness sakes. 4 interceptions, that is. So it's like, man, like, maybe there is something to say in that, like, hey, man, we think you're going to be good. We think you're going to be a great quarterback, but you're not ready yet. Maybe there is something to holding the reins back, because from everything I ever see with the Jets, man, like they just throw them out there and they just sink or swim. And most of them been sinking, man. Tons of them been sinking. So either way it goes, Fields is starting this week versus the Browns. You better watch your blind side because your offensive line is garbage too. Brown's going to have at least 4 sacks. And another part about Justin Fields, one of the hot button issues for me, and it was brought out in the draft process, he loves to hang on to that ball. A la waiting for his guys to break open and everything like that. He's
the
not
Joe
like,
Burrow issue.
Joe
Burrow does have that issue.
Yeah, not
hating, it's just true.
Anticipating type of throws. Is like he kind of waits to them to get open and then zips it there because he has such a strong arm and all that type of stuff. You ain't going to be able to do that this week. Not with that offensive line. Not with Myles Garrett on the other side. You better not. We'll be seeing Nick Foles if you do that. You already got decapitated in the playoffs. I mean, in the preseason. Better get rid of that ball, dog.
And that's why there's no right. By the way, everyone acts like there's one way to do it.
Right.
I'm a fan of starting the rookie. I used to not be that. I was always a fan of draft the rookie, let him sit behind a veteran, let him learn the ropes a little bit. But I've changed. I think you draft a rookie, you start him. I was ticked off when the Browns drafted Baker, and then they try to do this charade with Tyrod Taylor, where no, Tyrod's our quarterback. You don't draft Baker Mayfield number 1 overall to have Tyrod be your quarterback. Like that's your franchise quarterback that you've assumed you just drafted in Baker. You don't sit there and make him wait. You don't draft Justin Fields. That was the splash of the draft. The Bears moving up to draft Justin Fields. That was like the big news. Mac Jones falling to the Patriots was big news. The Bears moving up to get Justin Fields was even bigger news. So you don't do that. You don't make that splash just to continue to start Andy Dalton. But the bottom line is there's no right or wrong way to do this because you start Andy Dalton, the veteran quarterback. There's going to be a lot of people that say, well, that's what you do. You ease him in. And then if you start Justin Fields behind a bad offensive line and then he gets beat up,
right.
now you've ruined his development and all this. I remember years ago, the reason I was so high on Baker starting right off the bat was because most rookies don't come into having weapons. Baker Mayfield got to come in and he had weapons. He had an offensive line. They had Jarvis Landry. They had the run game. I at the time wasn't as down on Hugh Jackson as most people were, but his time definitely did run out in Cleveland, no doubt about it. But I didn't think that Baker's situation in Cleveland was that bad of a situation to come into. And obviously I was right. I mean, he exploded when he came into the league. So Justin Fields is a little different. He doesn't have an offensive line. He doesn't have weapons. He doesn't have, I mean, who's he going to look at? Who's he going to have that chemistry with when he gets out there, Kev? Like, we knew Baker was going to have Jarvis.
Allen Robinson dropped the touchdown that he threw him on Sunday.
That should be the guy, yeah. But it's going to be one of those where when Justin Fields, if he fails, which the cards are stacked against him, they're going to say, oh, see, it's Justin Fields. But it could be that Nagy was right all along, that this is not the situation for him. Stop bringing up Zach Wilson with the Jets because it may not be his good situation either. He had the bad game against the Patriots or whatever it was. He's had a good and a bad game. Trevor Lawrence has not been good at all. But in his defense, he was a hell of a college quarterback because he had talent around him.
Yeah.
You can't take a talented quarterback in college who had talent around him, put no talent around him in the NFL and expect him to be the same damn quarterback.
Do your thing, man.
It's tough for rookie quarterbacks to win in the NFL with talent around them. So Trevor Lawrence is not a bust. I'm seeing that already, by the way, that Joe Burrow,
2 weeks.
Joe Burrow's better than Trevor Lawrence. Maybe as of right now, maybe. I'm not willing to go there yet. I'm not willing to, 2 games in, it doesn't look good for Trevor Lawrence, but it's not fair to label him a bust. Who's around him? $70 million in cap space. Didn't spend it. Yeah, your first round running back you drafted in ETN, now he's gone for the season. Rookie head coach, don't care if we love Urban Meyer or not. He's still a rookie head coach. Nick Saban as the head coach, I'd still be concerned in the NFL. So there's a lot working against these guys. There's no right or wrong way to do it. If Justin Fields gets blasted on Sunday, it'll be because, like you said, Kev, see, that was the concern. Hold on to the ball too long. Hold on to the ball too long. Doesn't have pocket awareness. Didn't get rid of the ball quick enough. He ran right into that side. Instead of doing what most people do with the Bengals, where you blame the offensive line for Joe Burrow's struggles, we're going to say it's Justin Fields that's the problem. Joe Burrow at least had weapons. Joe Burrow had Joe Mixon. He had T. Higgins. He had Boyd. That's why I didn't want to give him a pass last year. I'm like, he actually has weapons. Most rookie quarterbacks, number 1 overall, don't. Trevor Lawrence does not have the same situation that Joe Burrow did. He didn't have the same situation that Baker Mayfield did. These rookie quarterbacks, it's not a good situation for Trevor Lawrence and definitely not a good one for Zach Wilson. And especially offensively for Justin Fields, not very good. Not good. Not a good situation, especially with the Browns defense. Right. Now, I know they've underachieved, in my opinion, 2 games in, but watch this be the game that Myles Garrett blows up. Watch this be the game that secondary eats. And poor Justin Fields will be the one to blame when they were going to eat no matter who was quarterback, whether it was Nick Foles, whether it was Andy Dalton. Justin Fields is being thrown to the wolves, and I have a problem with that.
And that's why I say coaching matters so much, especially in NFL, because you look at a Trey Lance, nobody's saying, oh, Trey Lance needs to be starting.
He's the one that probably should start. He's in the best situation of all of them to start.
He's sitting in the catbird seat, ready to go.
He has a good offensive line, good run game, good weapons. He should start. Mac Jones should start. Trevor Lawrence should not.
That's why I wanted
Fields. I would have thrown the stash out there. I would have let him get eaten alive.
That's why I wanted Fields to go to the Niners, man. If Fields went to the Niners, every Buckeye fan will be wearing 49ers gear right now.
Bosa or Fields. Quitter Bosa or Fields. Whatever one. What?
Bosa, dude. Bosa.
Oh, quit.
Should not be talking about, but never mind.
I'll end you. Killing you on the boards. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. We do apologize for getting some complaints about the phones. I know we are getting that addressed right now. I'm sorry about that. We did have a good run with the phones, though.
Yeah, man, almost 3 months.
You know, like Jamar Chase, sometimes you drop the ball. You drop the ball a few times. I mean, we dropped the ball on this.
He all playing this week?
Who?
Stoney.
OBJ?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Probably. Damn it. I got the joke. I was supposed to say Jamar Chase there. Damn it. No, but OBJ did practice for the first time this season. Full go today. Him and Baker Mayfield both did. Baker Mayfield, that damn shoulder. I don't know. I'm a little concerned about that. We'll see. We'll talk about that next. Justin Fields against the Browns on Sunday. So come on out to Frickers on 741 by the Dayton Mall. We'll be talking about all of that with Keith Byers on the Sunday morning tailgate show. Welcome you right up to 1 o'clock. Frickers, 741 by the Dayton Mall. We'll be giving away WWE Extreme Rules tickets for that night in Columbus. We also have Dave Matthews Band tickets we'll be giving away. So make sure you take advantage of that situation on Sunday. Come hang out with us. A lot of great games on. They're going to be all wall-to-wall TVs at Frickers, so come on out, hang out with us. We always hang around for a bit, watch some of the games. We eat a little. We might drink a little. We'll have some fun. Sunday morning tailgate show live from Frickers this Sunday morning. Kevin and I will be back in just a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
What's stopping you from getting the original Peloton bike?
I need flexibility with my workouts.
Choose from thousands of classes available 24/7.
It's hard for me to stay motivated.
Programs, artist series, and badges keep you reaching new goals.
45-minute bike boot camp, 30-minute hit ride.
My 45-minute hip-hop ride.
You get all that? For how much?
The original Peloton bike is now at its best price ever. Get game-changing cardio at a new game-changing price. The original Peloton bike, now $400 less. Learn more at onepeloton.com.
The pitch is moving up a day.
Antonio's animation studio needs a 3D designer today.
What are we going to do?
Someone who's as artistic as they are organized.
How are we going to get all this done? What about the production schedule?
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Screen for quality candidates with the skills your role needs with Indeed assessments. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you involved with a school or charitable fundraiser that holds an auction, bid and buy booth, or a raffle to raise money? Many of the most popular items at auctions or booths are autographed sports memorabilia items. How can you get great items in your event? Call Adam Walter at Sports Investments. Sports Investments has a consignment program for fundraisers that has provided outstanding items. You select items that are proven sellers, including autographed pieces from Tiger Woods, LeBron James, Joey Votto, the Big Red Machine, the Bengals, the Browns, UC, XU, UK, NKU, Dayton, Louisville, Notre Dame, and Ohio State. Sports Investments consigns the items to your group at a highly discounted price. And when they sell, you keep the profit. You don't pay anything in advance. And if something doesn't sell, you simply return it. You'll enjoy the experience of dealing with the Walter family. Call them at 513-891-5000. Email Adam at sportsinvestments.com or visit them on Montgomery Road, right off I-275. Just 40 minutes from WING.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week, there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Frickin' football is here. Frickers has the games on all the screens and you score with savings. Enjoy your favorite ice-cold domestic draft personal pitchers for only $6.50. A 48-ounce personal pitcher for only $6.50. And enjoy a plate of your favorite frickin' nachos for just $7. Take your frickin' pick. Frickin' chicken nachos, Mississippi barbecue nachos, or Nacho Supreme, only $7. This season, don't just be a football fan, be a Nacho fan. At the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
I learned long ago, if you've got the right tools and a little know-how, you can do it yourself. And no wall of mine's gonna get some dime a dozen paint. Pittsburgh Paints and Stains. Premium performance from its smooth application to that tough, washable one-coat finish. It exceeds expectations of what makes great paint. Pittsburgh Paints and Stains. Available exclusively at Menards.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
If you're suffering from cold, flu, or COVID symptoms, you need an accurate temperature reading as quickly as possible. Fever is a leading symptom of both the flu and COVID-19, so the sooner you rule out the common cold, the better. Use the Exergen Temporal Scanner, the same thermometer used by medical professionals millions of times a day to accurately detect fever. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Exergen is changing the way the world takes temperature.
Welcome to a place where everyone deserves to be better protected, where technology has your back, where you can have better protection and keep more money in your pocket, where you can have protection for your car, your home, your phone, and even your digital identity. Welcome to a place where your entire life can be better protected. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Allstate and affiliates offer products and services subject to availability, terms, and conditions.
CVS pharmacists have a tool designed to look for ways that may help lower your prescription costs. Visit CVS today.
Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
All right, everybody, we welcome you back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. No Reds baseball tonight. There was supposed to be a Reds game earlier this afternoon, but of course it was postponed due to too much sun. The Reds were worried that all the sun would spoil the players, and, there you go. But no, obviously a very crappy day outside. Weather-wise, Reds, Pirates postponed. That game will be made up on Monday, September 27th. Great American Ballpark, a 1:10 first pitch, which is pretty cool because Sunday was supposed to be the Reds' final home game of the season. Now that will be Monday. We will be giving away tickets. Look, regardless of all the negative talk that I've kind of spewed your way about how the season has unfolded, there is no better experience than watching it. I mean, there's a lot of cool ballparks, don't get me wrong, but I love Great American Ballpark. There's something so relaxing and calm about Great American Ballpark because no one goes. You are on a roll. But no, I love Great American Ballpark. It's just relaxing every year. I love going to games in September. I would love to go to games in September that we're watching a contender, but there's just something about a ballpark. Forget whose ballpark it is, but there's just something cool about going to a Major League Baseball game. The ballpark is a special place, and we're going to be giving away tickets to Sunday Sunday and Monday's game on tomorrow's show. We're giving away a lot of tickets tomorrow. We're giving away the Dave Matthews Band tickets tomorrow, as well as on Sunday at Frickers on 741 by the Dayton Mall, the Sunday morning tailgate show from 11:30 to 1 p.m. Walking you guys right up to kickoff, recapping a great day of college football Saturday, as well as getting you set for Sunday's big slate of NFL games. Keith Byers and I will be there 11:30 to 1, Frickers 741 by the Dayton Mall. Giving away Dave Matthews Band tickets, WWE Extreme Rules tickets, and we'll also be giving away Reds tickets to Monday's final home game against the Pittsburgh Pirates. So keep that in mind. Found this news interesting. You know, everyone out there that wants to fire Ryan Day, which you guys are bozos. I mean, I think it's the dumbest take ever, and I make a living off of making stupid takes. I've never said anything as stupid as that. You guys believe the craziest take I've ever had is that the Bengals offensive line is bad, which to me just shows the intelligence level of some of the listeners we deal with here, Bengals fans, not all of you, most of you. But the bottom line is for those of you who are so obsessed with getting Ryan Day out, you got to ask, well, who do we replace him with? Because USC has been looking for a replacement to Pete Carroll for, well, I was in middle school. It's been since I was in middle school that USC has just been looking for that next big head coach that was going to make them feel like, like what an LA team is supposed to look and feel like. And there is something to be said about the identity of a program in which their program is located. That's why people make so much about Michigan and hiring a Michigan guy. And that's why Harbaugh has remained the head coach despite their shortcomings, because it just doesn't, Harbaugh just feels right in Michigan. Unfortunately, the results are not matching the comfortability of the feel of him being the head coach. And I'm not going to lie to you. It does. It feels right. Like he looks like Michigan. He should be the Michigan coach. I just wish, I shouldn't say I wish. I believe that the results should warrant him being there, though, and they're not. And they haven't been. They're off to an okay start. Good for them. What have you. They've played nobody. So I say that because it's so tough to find the guy. Urban Meyer was Ohio State. That just felt like Ohio State. Tressel, like Ohio State always knocks out of the ballpark with their guys, man. Urban felt like it. I don't know how I feel about Ryan Day as far as being the guy. Like, I don't get all warm and fuzzy inside with Ryan Day the way I did Urban and Tressel, but I do believe a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, Ryan Day will get that. He's already coached in the national championship game. He's made the playoff every year since being the head coach. Ryan Day will be viewed at the same light, I'm sure, at some point. Of course, for some of you, you want him out now. But it's tough to find a guy that matches the identity of your program. And USC has been circling that wagon for a long time. You know, there's talks and reports I read yesterday of Urban Meyer only lasting 1 year in Jacksonville, 1 year in the NFL before making his return to the college sidelines. Of course, many people believe that, oh no, he's too loyal. He loves Ohio State. He would never go coach. That's why he didn't take the Texas job. He didn't take the Texas job because he loves Ohio State. Now, I do think he has a weird, unhealthy relationship with Ohio State that he would risk not taking some of the best coaches available to him because he didn't want to step on the toes of Ohio State. You need to have that killer instinct. I don't care who you have to step on in the process to get to where you need to go. None of that. But anyways, I'm getting off topic here. I'm on a roll today. Urban Meyer to USC has been rumored. I think it fits from the standpoint of it's a huge name. USC needs a huge name. They need an experienced national championship level coach to come in and revamp that program and make USC feel like what USC felt like to me growing up, which was the must-watch program. I wasn't a USC fan, but damn it, when they were on, I watched. When they were on, I watched. They had that bigger-than-life feel. You would see celebrities in the stands at these games. It just felt like something bigger than the rest of college football. Even Ohio State, who I loved, but it just felt like it was just, we talk about the SEC, it just means more. USC, it felt like it just meant more. It was the place to be. I don't know if Urban Meyer does that. I think he does do that for USC. I just don't think that's where he goes. The next big name that's been floated around out there, Kev, that everyone is shooting down, that I kind of like, is Deion Sanders.
Prime time. Coach Prime.
Coach Prime, yes. Don't forget that. I mean, would you call Nick Saban Nick? Actually, yeah, we would. But it's besides the point. Prime time fits in LA. Now, by the way, I think it's badass him going and being a head coach of an HBCU team. Like there's a lot to be said about that. He's brought a lot of notoriety to that program and to the HBCU conversations in general. But when you think about USC and wanting that flair, wanting that big name, wanting that, oh, look at us. I'm sorry, but there's not one individual out there that fits that mold other than Deion Sanders. And for those of you out there who say, well, he hasn't coached at that high of a level to deserve that job. Can we stop with that narrative? That narrative has been debunked in college basketball. You look at Penny Hardaway in Memphis. All right, you look at Juwan Howard at Michigan. You look at Patrick Ewing at Georgetown. You look at Anthony Grant with the Dayton Flyers. Now, by the way, Anthony Grant has one hell of a coaching pedigree. The dude wasn't just some scrub that, oh, well, you played at Dayton, you're our coach. No, Anthony Grant deserves to be the head coach at Dayton. And that, I'm not debating that. I'm just saying, like, he deserves to be there, as well as Patrick Ewing with all the jobs, with all the work he did as his assistant in the NBA, the G League, and everything he did there. He deserves to be a head coach, as does Penny Hardaway with all the work he did in the AAU scene. We're talking about leading a basketball program, leading a football program. People get mad about Penny Hardaway. They felt, or about Juwan Howard. But many people felt that he was disrespected by Phil Martelli being added to the coaching staff for Juwan Howard. You want to know who doesn't feel disrespected by that? Juwan Howard.
Right.
Because Juwan Howard knows basketball. Juwan Howard has the relationship skills with his players. He knows how to recruit. And although he knows basketball, sometimes there is a different feel to the college game, and that's why Phil Martelli is so important to that coaching staff. I guarantee you Juwan Howard doesn't feel disrespected by having Martelli there. Oh, they don't believe he can get it done. That's why they brought in Martelli. You look at Mike Woodson over at Indiana. They bring in Thad Matta. Mm-hmm. Well, Woodson's coach of the NBA. He knows the feel of the NBA game. He played at a high level in college basketball, played there. But it's nice to have an experienced coach there that has recently coached the game, that knows the ebbs and flows of the college game. I think that helps. Juwan Howard is successful because of Phil Martelli and the staff that he put together. Penny Hardaway adds Larry Brown. Many people are like, why do you need Larry Brown for Penny Hardaway to be successful? Penny Hardaway would not have accepted Larry Brown on his staff if he didn't feel that he was bringing something to the table. And it's important to have that name there. I think as long as the patterns that have been worked out to be successful in college transition into to college football, I have no problem with Deion Sanders being a candidate to take the USC coaching job, because just like any coach, and we're seeing it with Ryan Day is a fantastic coach. He just doesn't have the right assistants right now running both sides of the ball. I don't care if it's Ryan Day or whoever. If you don't have the best assistants, you're not going to be successful. So Ryan Day is a prime example of that. Nick Saban is praised because he constantly refills the cupboards when his coaches are plucked. That's why he's been successful. So Deion, he's prime time. He's shiny. He's flashy. He's look at me. He's everything that USC is. Oh, yeah, and he has coaching experience. I don't care if it's for an HBCU. To act like that's not football, that's a stupid take to have. The guy knows football. The guy knows how to play and perform and coach in the spotlight, and I think that he would be a magnificent fit at USC. We would look at USC again. We would look at the Pac-12 again. They would become must-watch. I just think that the rule that should apply for Deion at USC is the rule that applies for Ryan Day and every other coach in football. Make sure your staff's pretty good, because Urban Meyer is going to fail in the NFL, by the way, because his staff is garbage. That's why he's not going to work out in the NFL. So I just think I would love Deion at USC. I want USC to feel big again. He makes them feel big. It's just going to come down to whether or not he can have the right staff around him to help him be successful. But that's not a Deion rule. That's a college football coaching rule. That's the case in any sport. Don't make that bigger than what it is. I think Deion would be fantastic at USC. I hope that's what happens. Even though I like him at the HBCU level, I think USC needs him. I think college football needs him. I think it'd be great. I love that it's happening in college basketball. I would love to see it happen in college football. Deion to USC. Let's make it happen.
I just wanted to touch on a couple of things. The whole rhetoric about he hasn't coached at this level yet. Zach Taylor was never a head coach.
How's that working, though?
Freddie Kitchens was never a head coach. Steve Nash was never a head coach. Mm-hmm. Steve Kerr was never a head coach. So there's tons of guys that have never been a head coach that have taken on the head coach responsibility and succeeded. Some have failed. It is what it is. My rebuttal to Deion going to USC may need Deion Sanders, but does Deion Sanders need or even want USC? Those are the questions that I would be asking. Like, for me, like, obviously I never met Deion Sanders, but like the perception that I get from Deion Sanders is that he has, how do I say it, a higher calling. Maybe that's the right word. Not just talking about coaching at HBCU and bringing light to the HBCUs and bringing light to these young men, trying to get them to shine and everything like that. But, he's a very religious man and all that type of stuff. Like, would that play out in LA? I mean, I know it's Dion. I know he lived out in L.A. or traveled back and forth in L.A. for doing when he was working with the NFL Network and everything like that. That would be my thing if I was USC and I was pursuing him. It's like, well, how long are you going to stay? Because Dion, you seem to have a calling that isn't just strictly all about football. But when we want you here at USC, we need you locked in all about football. For Dion, he has a million different tentacles going a million different ways that he's trying to help. Yeah, he's trying to help.
By the way, to act like media won't jump on that perception, because people hate. I find Barstool entertaining. I'm not a big Portnoy fan, but their stuff's entertaining. But to act like people won't dig their tentacles into that, to try to frame him in a certain way, that'll be interesting how that works.
So, like, he has a million different things going on. I'm just not sure, like, Deion Sanders would be willing to give up the million different things that he's involved with to strictly focus on USC, because that's what they need. They need him to be dialed in and locked in on that. They don't need Deion Sanders working with Barstool. They don't need Deion Sanders going to Dallas in the middle of game week to go speak at a church. Like, they don't need that. And those are all great things. I applaud it. I mean, I don't know how he finds the time of the day. I thought we all only had 24 hours. Deion seems to have 30 hours.
He
Respect
needs a hooper.
to him. Facts.
I don't have a hoop.
So those will be my reservations. Not just USC, any program that's looking at Deion Sanders, because he's got a lot going on and he loves what he has going on. So I'm not sure like that he will be willing to give up all the things that he loves to do. I'm not sure he would be willing to give all those up. And that's the conversation that any school that will be trying to pluck him away from his current school, those are the conversations that they will have to have with him to find out where he's at with it and come to some type of understanding. Like, all right, man, well, Bar School is Nick Say, right? That podcast, Nick Say, right? Those drop-ins on church are Nick Say. Those pop-ups to random high school JV games are Nick Say, right? Because you're going to be like at the office, like doing coaching stuff, right? Like he does all that tough stuff. So,
but Deion out and about is a walking recruiting billboard.
Facts.
So I know what you're saying. And by the way, that would be my concern as well. But at the same time, to be USC, what makes USC different is the flashiness, is the edginess, is the we're different than everybody else. And I think that USC trying to be this program of real buttoned up, and I'm not saying that you ignore certain things, but like with the Urban Meyer thing, there was all those rumblings that they weren't going to touch Urban Meyer, that the president that was at Cincinnati, one of the rumblings of him going to USC was that, okay, we'll bring you here, but we're letting it be known that we are not going to sign off on Urban Meyer being our next coach. Yeah, but my big thing is this: if Urban Meyer will coach again, and you won't benefit from that, like if what he has done is so bad that you don't want him at your program, how bad is it if he's going to end up coaching again somewhere? That Texas job was his. All he had to do was sign the damn line. The Jags job, as well as a lot of other NFL openings, it was his job. All he had to do was sign the line. He signed the line for the Jags. If it doesn't work out in Jacksonville, I don't anticipate that it will. He will return to college. Ryan Day goes to the NFL, or if he only wins by 14 this weekend, he might be fired by the end of this weekend, right? According to some Buckeye fans. Urban Meyer is going to coach at college at some point, you would have to think. So the thing is why convince yourself not to? They missed out on Urban Meyer, and I think that they're kicking themselves for it. I think if you really rewind, I think USC takes a harder grab at Urban Meyer than what they did. I think they're kicking themselves now, because if you want to do the right thing and go get a Clay Helton or go get an upcoming coordinator from another team or go get a USC guy, I think that you have to be willing to adapt. USC has tried it the right way, and the right way doesn't work. You're just average. You're subpar. You're competitive. You're still USC, but you're not USC. I think you got to learn to play outside the box. I mean, Memphis is doing that in basketball. They have the number one recruiting class coming in basketball. They're going to be number one team in the country, or top 3 team in the country. Like they are going to be, it's working at that level. Football needs to adapt as well. I think if you try to play within the lines that you've been playing in, you're going to get the same results. I think Deion's outside the box, and I think USC needs an attempt at an outside the box approach. Michigan is going to find themselves in that situation after Jim Harbaugh. You want to keep going down that Michigan guy approach? How's that working for you? It's not going to keep working, but they're going to keep going down that line and then wondering why they're getting the same results. USC, they can't be the Michigan of that conference and continuing to do the same thing that doesn't work. They have to do something outside the box. And it's not just Deion's Deion. Like Deion puts all the eyes back on that program. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's what would be interesting. The Barstool thing, as much as there's a lot of people who criticize it, know your audience.
A lot of clicks.
A lot of, yeah. I mean, a lot of boards.
I got a prediction.
We got 90 seconds, by the way.
I'm predicting.
No hitter right now so far, by the way.
I'm predicting Lane Kiffin's back.
USC?
Yep. He's been gone for that was like 10 years ago. More mature. I'm predicting Lane Kiffin's back there.
That's not a bad prediction. I don't know. I'm trying to think of anyone else that would make sense. But that dude, he has to stop, man. He's hot potato. But he would be my second choice at USC. I still like the Deion approach. But, you know.
He get Arch Manning. They'll give him that job back. Like you locking in Peyton and Eli's nephew, we'll give you the job.
You're not wrong. Actually, I think he, and for him, he's one of many. I mean, that SEC. Now you brought in, obviously Lincoln Riley. I mean, when you're talking about Kiffin already had it tough in that conference. It already had so many great head coaches. You're running in place in that conference. It doesn't make sense. I think he should take that USC job if it's there. Now he can go be Lane Kiffin, one of the, him and Kelly and some of the other good coaches in the Pac-12, Herm Edwards and what have you. But you're a big fish in a smaller pond in the Pac-12. Right now, you're a small fish in a big pond, and you're just blending in. And you also just got Lincoln Riley, and you also just got Sarkisian, of course, the coordinator from Alabama, now the head coach at Texas. So the bottom line is that pool just got deeper, and your feet aren't touching the bottom. You might as well go walk in the short end of the pool and dominate over there. So
he'll be able to score in the SEC because he's that smart of a coach. They'll be able to put up numbers, but USC, if they call, I think he's gone.
All right, folks, have a great night. We'll do this again tomorrow. The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash is brought to you by Orion Sports Medicine. Have a great night. Tomorrow, 3 o'clock, we'll pick it back up, and we'll be giving away some WWE Extreme Rules tickets, Dave Matthews Band tickets, and we'll be giving away Reds tickets to the finale of games coming up this weekend. Until tomorrow, it's been the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
I'm with Dr. Sharon Parsons, past president of the Ohio Dental Association. Soft teeth run in my family, so going to the dentist won't help, right?
Actually, your family history does not necessarily determine whether you'll get cavities or develop gum disease. Your own behavior can prevent dental disease. By regularly seeing a dentist,